1 minute, Eric. All right. Are you ready? All right, good. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the September 5th, 2024 Woodland Park City Council meeting. And Suzanne, would you do the roll call?
Mayor Case,
Here?
Mayor Pro Tem Nakai,
Here.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Here.
Councilmember Gear,
Here.
Councilmember Harvey.
Here.
Councilmember Jones.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, would everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. That takes us to item 3, ceremonies, presentations, and appointments. And item 3A is Cruise Above the Clouds presentation. So if you guys would come to the podium and share your wonderful news with us.
Wonderful news it is. Well, good evening. My name is Steven Strube. I'm the current president of Cruise Above the Clouds here in Woodland Park. Ken Bay, Bruce Lane, and Jeff Book here all on the board of directors for Cruise Above the Clouds. For those of you that are familiar or not familiar with it, we've been around over 30 years now, 32 years. So this will be the 32nd year we've had the car show, which is this Saturday. Over that time, we have donated back to the city and the county almost $500,000. We're approaching that number real quickly. So tonight we would like to come in and first of all, thank the city council, thank the city, everybody that supports the car show. It's very important to us, it's very important to all the charities that get the money. And we wanted to present framed posters. So each year we have a different poster that gets passed around for marketing and our sponsors. And we give these out to the city each year. So what we would like to do is present to you, Mayor, and the council, this year's 2024 poster. And then honestly, this is our own fault, but last year's 2023 poster. It'd be a lot better if there was two at once. So anyway, we appreciate it. And I don't know how you want to do this part, but
We can get a
All right.
picture of you down there if you'd like. Sure. Kristen loves taking pictures.
oh, they're required to join. Yes.
Thank you.
How about we hold the line on this side?
Don't hide, Jeff. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, fun stuff's over. That takes us to item 4, additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda. Suze, do we have anything?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. And now, council, the consent calendar, we have item A, which is approval of the July 18th and the August 1st, 2024 regular city council meeting minutes. Anything? If not, I will look for a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the July 18th and August 1st, 2024 regular city council meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion, council? Suzanne, if you would take the vote, please.
Thank you. Case,
Yes.
Nakai,
Yes.
Baldwin,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Harvey.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. With that brings us to 6, which is public comment on items that are not on the agenda. So if you have something to share with us that's not on the agenda, Suzanne, do you have
I
anyone?
do. I have a few people signed up. The first speaker is Jason Friesma.
All right. Jason, when you get to the podium, if you'd give us your full name and residence, city of residence.
Yeah, my name is Jason Friesma, well pronounced, by the way. I reside in Woodland Park, Colorado.
Thank you.
Nope, oh, there is a timer. All right, so my name is Jason Friesma. I am a licensed professional counselor and licensed addiction counselor. I do a fair amount of work right now with the Veterans Health and Trauma Clinic at UCCS as part of the Lyda Hill Institute for Human Resilience. And I wanted to introduce to the council, start a conversation. Back in November of 2022, Colorado passed Proposition 122, which was the Natural Medicine Act, is what it's come to be known as, beginning the process of legalizing various plant-based psychedelics for the treatment of mental health issues. I'm aware that has some controversy associated with it and often gets lumped in with cannabis use and that sort of thing. But I just wanted to start a conversation about that. Back when this law passed, like the vision of it was to provide safe opportunities, regulated opportunities for people seeking treatment, particularly for depression and even PTSD. And the first phase of that legalization process was allowing personal use and then also consultation with professionals while taking that medication, and then also personal cultivation of it. In 2025, the board, Department of Regulatory Agencies and the Department of Revenue have gone through a process of preparing. So instead of like the marijuana issue, instead of ready, shoot, aim, we were doing ready, aim, shoot, I think in the correct order. And in 2025, the state is going to begin to offer licenses to healing centers. They've come up with a long list of rules and regulations regarding these healing centers. And of course, one of the rules is in order to open a healing center, you have to have approval by local governments in order to do that. Personally, over the last 2 years since this proposition passed, I've had the fortune of sitting with people as they work on PTSD issues. If you know anyone that has experienced PTSD or anything like that, medications don't treat it. Unlike depression and that sort of thing, medications don't help PTSD. There are medications that treat symptoms of it, like the anxiety or sleeplessness or intrusive nightmares, but there isn't any medications that helps treat PTSD. And I'm here to tell you, I went from a skeptic, I'm a licensed addiction counselor. I cannot believe I'm sitting 2 years later in front of the city council and advocating for this. I was not in favor of it necessarily, but what I've watched with my own 2 eyes and what I'm reading in the research by Johns Hopkins University, among others, that this is very groundbreaking. It's a groundbreaking opportunity for our state. Oh, there's my buzzer. But it's a groundbreaking opportunity, I think, for our state. And I would like to begin that discussion. I will now yield my time. I guess I don't.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Jason.
Jason.
Yeah. That's a
The next speaker
conversation
is
start.
Jerolee Gonzalez. Is Jerolee here? Are you online, Jerolee? Okay, we can move on to Erin Hellstrom. Up, Jerolee's there. I'm so sorry, sir. So sorry. Okay, go ahead, ma'am. You have to unmute. Okay, Erin, why don't you come on up again?
Geraldine, we're going to go ahead with Aaron, and
Yes.
if you get your sound resolved, if you'll bear with us, we'll take you next.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
It's all right. Semper Gumby. Good evening. My name is Aaron Hellstrom. I'm from Woodland Park. And tonight I wanted to talk about the Veteran Salute. I know that you've already, as a council, made a decision to not fund it. I understand the reasoning behind it. I'll go from the veterans' perspective to talk to veterans to replace Mr. Ware with Pro Promotions. But I believe this is a groundbreaking thing that we need to have. Rolling Thunder, that is as old as this one, 32 years, ended in 2019. This is the oldest, longest running veteran salute. I understand why. But we have number 2, we're the number 2 county in Colorado per capita of veteran population. We have over 3,300 veterans here in this county. I think we owe it to them and others to reconsider, and I hope you will. The other thing I wanted to talk about is on 9C.
We'll save that for later.
Oh, so I got 3 minutes to talk about veterans?
I have you on the list for 9C.
Perfect. I love talking about veterans. They've done so much for our country, and I really do believe many of them are committing suicide because they feel as if society doesn't understand them or accept them. They've had to do very harsh things that ruin the soul of a person. And as a community, we can be that solution to helping them heal. And I want to speak to the gentleman about the psychedelics. I know many combat veterans who have gone through that process down in Mexico, and it's done wonders. It's broken their addiction, it's broken their anger, it's broken their drinking and alcoholism. It's worth it. I know people that are of my persuasion or belief will be shocked that I said that, but my veterans are suffering. 22 a day, blow their brains out. We as a country asked them to go and do something that no one else should ever have to do, and that's to take the life of another human being, and then sometimes children. They carry scars of war that you cannot even begin to fathom and understand. I implore you, for the sake of our veterans and our society and community, to reconsider this. What you do for us in that regard is like a shot of penicillin in the arm that will help anesthetize the depression, the anxiety, PTSD, TBI. I really hope that we don't have, our veteran suicides have gone down in the past couple of years, but there's more that can be done. And if you think that the VA is the answer, you're wrong. The system is broken. Communities need to think how we're going to reach out. And leadership is about being visionaries. We don't do knee-jerk reactions. We don't, this is a people business. And honestly, people are difficult to deal with sometimes. They're idiots, right? I can be an idiot a lot of the times. In fact, I think they've used another name which begins with an A and ends with a hole. But I own it. The fact is, if we make decisions based on personalities, then we lose the vision of why we're here as a governing body. We lose who we're here to support, protect, encourage, uplift, right? You, the city council, are the leaders of this city. And I honestly, truly believe, as the last motorcycle rally in the United States, this could set us up for success for the future. And this year was way more than last year. We had over 5,000 compared to, I think, what, 1,300 last year? So I thank you for your time, consideration. I hope you will reconsider this because the lives you affect could be your neighbors. Thank you.
Mayor, I have a question. I'm sorry, not of you. I'm confused. I'm confused. I didn't realize that we had considered this. So when Mr. Hellstrom is asking us to reconsider it, we're all kind of looking at each other. When was the decision made not to have the?
I don't think
Rally.
a decision was made. I
Okay.
believe that they have appealed to Cripple Creek to host the rally.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
Might I just clarify?
Yes.
Thank you for the opportunity to clarify. So Mr. Ware has wrote an article, and I think it's in Jackpot Times or something like that. But in the article, he has stated that Woodland Park City Council has already said to him, you will not financially support it or host the rally. So that's in the media, and I'm being preemptive to that. This is the first of my knowledge. I think it was put out 3 days ago. And I'm here to, because I know last time you spoke, you said, hey, we haven't made a decision on the signature series. This is something we need to go back, talk about. And now in the article, it says it's been decided, we're not doing it. So that's why I was here to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone? Jerry, it is your
Jerry's hanging
turn,
there.
ma'am.
Okay, I apologize. I'm in my car, so I'm using my phone. Thank you, council members, for the opportunity to speak. I appreciate the amended IGA for increased transparency and Woodland Park School District's swift agreement before the deadline. However, the IGA only requires reporting from July 2024, and taxpayers began raising concerns in early 2022. And limiting the accounting to 2024 does not provide a full picture. I ask that you place the retail tax initiative on the ballot and allow the Woodland Park voters to decide. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Any more comments for items not on the agenda?
No.
Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on items that are not on the agenda this evening? Okay. We'll move on to item 7, which is unfinished business. We have none. 8 is ordinances on initial posting. And this is item A, approval of ordinance 1483, series 2024 on initial posting, and ordinance amending Title 8 of the Woodland Park Municipal Code by adopting a new chapter 8.16 regarding off-street parking and loading area maintenance, and set the public hearing for September 19th, 2024. Council, do you have any clarification you need from staff? Otherwise, this is on initial posting to set the public hearing. And I would look for a motion if there's nothing, no questions.
In that case, I'll make a motion to approve motion for the approval of ordinance 1483 series 2024 on initial posting and ordinance amending Title 8 of the Woodland Park Municipal Code by adopting a new chapter 8.16 regarding off-street parking and loading area maintenance, and set the public hearing for September 19th, 2024.
Second.
Thank you. You have a first and a second. Any further discussion, council?
How did this come about? Who brought this motion up? Was this from the city?
This was a combination of the city and council.
Yeah, okay. So is there an issue with, does the chief have some kind of issue with off-street parking, or we just don't have an ordinance that can regulate it?
This one is for parking lot maintenance and repairs.
Okay.
It says off-street parking.
Yeah, it says
It-
off-street.
It includes that in there
Okay.
as part of the code amendment, but it's mainly directed at parking lot repairs.
So when, Aaron, I'll address this to you. When you and I were talking about this, it was more of a public safety issue?
It is.
Okay.
And if on second reading, any amendments that council would like to this, we can make them.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, Suzanne?
Yes, I have a motion from Gear, a second from Smith. Nakai,
Yes.
Baldwin,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Harvey,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Case.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Council, this takes us to item 9, public hearings. Item A is kind of an unusual, it probably should have been under item 10, as this is a resolution. It is not an ordinance. So this will be the only reading of this item. But we'll take it here since it was advertised that way and consider it here. It's resolution 925. It's a CUP SPR extension of Fred's Towing conditional use permit and site plan. File number A24-0069, a request by MVE Inc., the applicant, and Gino LLC, a Colorado LLC, the property owner, for a 2-year extension of the CUP and SPR, that's a conditional use permit and
Site plan review.
site plan review. Thank you. approval for a commercial building with vehicle storage area on Lot 1, Sunny Glen Retreat subdivision filing number 2. Property address is 20499 US Highway 24 in the community commercial zone. And this is a quasi judicial matter. And we have CJ Gates at the podium, ready and willing. Sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Share my screen. Thanks, Eric. Again, Council, Mayor, I'm CJ Gates. I'm with the City of Woodland Park Planning Department, and the request that you guys have in front of you today is for a conditional use permit and site plan review entitlement extension. We can get this to move forward, and we can continue here. This site is 2.55 acres of land, which is east of Highway 24 and south of Mountain Glen Drive in the southeastern portion of the City of Woodland Park. The subject property is zoned community commercial, as you guys can see here on the right-hand side of your slide. The site is accessed via an access easement, which is from the parcel to the north, which is currently occupied by a gas station. U-Pass Concrete, Sand and Gravel, which is not inside city limits, is located directly to the south. There are existing mature evergreen trees and steep rocky terrain located on the property's western perimeter adjacent to Highway 24. This terrain acts as a screen for the property as viewed from Highway 24, as you guys can all see from the photos here on this slide. The top photo is from Highway 24 traveling eastbound, and the bottom photo is from the Highway 24 traveling westbound, looking at the property. For reference, this slide is the approved preliminary site plan, which includes a 3,500 square foot structure that is planned to be used for office space and storage of vehicles. The right-hand side of the slide is a rendering of the proposed building. Here on this slide, we just have a quick timeline of what has transpired since the original approval. So on June 2nd, 2022, City Council approved a conditional use permit and site plan review to allow for a tow company to construct and utilize a commercial building with vehicle storage on the subject property. And that was via Ordinance 1423, Series 2022. And just as a reminder for the council here tonight, once an applicant gets the entitlement for an approved CUP, they must apply for and gain approval of a final site plan, which is pretty much just construction documents. And that's processed administratively through the planning department. Since the City Council approved the CUP and site plan, the final site plan and construction document packet has gone through several rounds of review. The most recent resubmittal was received by the planning department on August 14th of 2024. And it's currently being reviewed by staff. As noted, on July 16th of this year, the planning department received an application from the request for the request of a 2-year extension of the approved conditional use permit and site plan. While no zoning development permit has been issued, the applicant has been pursuing the approval since January of 2023. Additionally, even though the extension application was submitted after the expiration date of the approval, which was June 2nd, 2024, planning staff is supportive of extending the approvals due to the ongoing work of the applicant. If this extension request is approved, then the CUP and SPR entitlement will expire on June 2nd of 2026. The extension application was sent to the referral agencies listed here on the slide, and staff received no comments. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on August 22nd, 2024, and they voted unanimously to recommend to City Council approve a 2-year extension of Fred's Towing conditional use permit and site plan, and that the approving resolutions shall clearly state that the development is still subject to all the conditions and dimensional standards specified in the original approval. And lastly, staff's recommendation, based on the Planning Commission recommendation, we recommend that staff approve resolution number 925, series 2024, granting a 2-year extension of the conditional use permit with a site plan review for the purpose of allowing a tow company to construct and utilize a commercial building with vehicle storage area. The resolution does clearly state that the development is still subject to all the conditions and dimensional standards specified in the original approval. We do have Chuck Chrome here with MVE in the audience here tonight. If you guys have any questions for him, or we're always available for questions as well.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions for staff?
I do.
before we- Okay. go ahead.
CJ, but just make sure I understand. So there is ongoing work at the site now.
No, so not dirt work. So like within the presentation, so they get their entitlement work done. Then they have to work with the construction documents, which is, we call it the final site plan. So they have to get everything approved on paper before a speck of dirt is moved. And that's what we're working through right now. It's the construction document phase of the final site plan.
So that's what you meant when you said work.
Correct, yes, on paper.
A question, CJ, what is the reason for the delay?
Yeah, and I'll let Chuck talk about this a little bit too. So I think with you guys had a few, not issues, but a couple run-ins with CDOT and just some, construction documents and engineering comments back and forth, and, just really trying to get the site good to our engineering and planning specifications.
But at this point in time, Fred's Towing is still located off of Highway 67?
No,
No,
they are not operating out of there right now.
where are they operating from? Anywhere?
To be honest, I'm not sure.
Bust.
Oh, bust. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So, but yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else for
Yeah,
staff?
CJ, the access to that property, is it
Sure.
still gonna come through? You said a conditional easement?
Yeah, so it's not it's an access.
Okay.
and Utility easement
Oh,
to the
utility.
gas station there.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's
where an actual drive is gonna be placed. Okay.
correct. Yeah.
Is that all? We'll ask the applicant to come up. All right, sir. Good evening.
Madam Mayor and Council, I'm Chuck Chrome with MVE. Project is, as far as construction documents, more than 99% done. We're waiting on CDOT and for the access permit. And what we're waiting for is their review, and my understanding is they're stacked up. And then the other thing is they've gone through a couple of hydrologists, and they're on our review, the final review of the drainage report, to make sure that we aren't impacting the highway. So I would assure you that we'd like to start tomorrow if we can get those permits, but. So any other questions that I
Thank you.
may answer?
Yeah.
Council?
Excuse me. So what exactly is gonna be located, or what kind of equipment is gonna be on site there? I know the building, but what's gonna be
Building
around?
and just cars that are picked up for CDOT, most of them that are taken and put in storage until they're claimed.
Okay,
Yeah, and most of it's very well hidden, and the plan shows a parking area for those vehicles and that. And
okay.
And that would include, I know that there are specific requirements for security at that type of a compound for the vehicles, correct?
Yes, with fencing and security and that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, council, for the applicant? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
We'll reserve the right to call you back up.
absolutely.
Council, any further discussion before I open public comment? All right, so I will open the public comment portion of this public hearing. And Suzanne, do we have anyone signed up to speak to
We
the
do
council?
not.
Okay, anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on this issue? All right, seeing nothing, I will close the public comment portion of the public hearing and look to the council for further debate and a motion if that's where we're at. Anything else you'd like to discuss? If not, I'd look for a motion.
Looking for the
Staff,
recommendation.
9:25.
Yeah, I'll move then to approve resolution number 925 series 2024, documenting the approval of a 2-year extension of Fred's Towing conditional use permit and site plan.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion, council? Suzanne?
My apologies, I didn't hear which one of you said second.
Oh, me.
Okay, thank you. Baldwin,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Harvey,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Case,
Yes.
Nakai.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, council. Thank you, sir. And CJ. Item B, approval of ordinance number 1480, series 2024, and ordinance of the city council of the city of Woodland Park, Colorado, submitting a ballot question to the electors of the city asking whether the 1.09% sales tax adopted by the city voters in 2016 to benefit the school district ought to be repealed. And we will have a presentation from our city attorney, Jeff Wilson.
Good evening, Mayor. Whoa.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This will be a very brief presentation. You're all very familiar with ordinance 1480. The principal difference between this ordinance and the ordinance that you killed recently is that ordinance would have immediately terminated this tax. The question in that debate was whether the tax ought to be continued. This matter, on the other hand, is a question of whether the tax ought to be referred to the voters. So the debate is whether that's a good idea or not. That's it.
And I would just share with the council that Mr. Bates, the chairman of the school board, and I on August 29th met with the city clerk and we signed the intergovernmental agreement and the agreement was exactly as the council put forward to the school district for consideration with no alterations or changes. So that intergovernmental agreement has been signed and is incorporated into the amendment is signed and incorporated into the original intergovernmental agreement that was signed by the previous mayor, Hillary LaBarre, with Mr. Bates.
Mayor Case, knowing that the addendum is short, would it be possible for you to read that into the record tonight in order for the audience to understand what was in the addendum?
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
This is addendum August 29th, 2024, intergovernmental agreement between the city of Woodland Park and the Woodland Park School District RE2. The intergovernmental agreement presently existing between the city of Woodland Park and the Woodland Park School District RE2 concerning the 1.09% city sales tax adopted by city voters in 2016 is supplemented by the following new paragraph 5.5. 5.5 begins, the district agrees to take the following steps in order to establish a transparent system for accounting how the proceeds of the city tax are spent by the district, including at Merit Academy and any other charter or contract schools. Item A, Phase 1, obligations of the district. Beginning upon execution of this addendum and continuing through December 31st, 2024, the district shall, Roman numeral I, implement grant accounting, payroll separate, close paren. The 1.09% sales tax revenues and expenditures will be set up using a 4-digit designated grant project in the district's financial/ERP system for revenues and expenditures, with the exception of payroll information. The district will produce a summarized report of the expenditures by category with the detailed ledger for each category. For payroll expenditures, the district will provide the total expenditures incurred and then will show a transfer for the amount allocated from the 1.09% sales tax. If requested, the district will provide the complete payroll register, but it is understood that there will be no delineation in the payroll register to reflect the 4-digit designated grant project. Item 2, or Roman numeral II. Implement monthly reporting. The district will begin producing monthly reporting reflecting the change to grant accounting for the 1.09% sales tax in January 2025 and will retroactively produce monthly reports for July 2024 through December 2024 by January 31st, 2025. Monthly reports will be due by the last day of the following month and will be available on the district's website. That was phase one. Excuse me. Item B, phase two, obligations of the district. Beginning January 1st, 2025, the district shall, Roman numeral 1 or I, implement grant accounting payroll included. As of the beginning of phase two, the 1.09% sales tax revenues and expenditures will be set up using a 4-digit designated grant project in the district's financial/ERP system for all revenues and expenditures, including payroll information. The district will produce a summarized report of the expenditures by category with the detailed ledger for each category. Item II or 2, monthly reporting. The district will produce monthly reporting reflecting the change to full grant accounting for the 1.09% sales tax beginning January 2025. Monthly reports will be due by the last day of the following month and will be available on the district's website. The June report each year will require a minimum of 45 days to produce to allow for year-end accruals and adjustments. The June report will be posted to the district's website as soon as available, no later than the 15th of August each year. And then there are locations for signatures of both the city and the school district.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I will turn this over to you, council, for discussion.
I would like to say something, but I would like to wait till after public comment.
Okay,
That's okay.
you bet. Anything else? I'll open the public comment portion. All right.
And Madam Mayor, I just have, I don't know if this is a point of information or not. Will you be able to ask those that come to the podium that if we reach a point in this discussion that we are repeating certain topics or themes, that we'll go ahead and discontinue?
I do have a recommendation I was going to ask of the
Okay.
public. And I think it will take into consideration that they can have the opportunity to state their position or agreement with a previous commenter. But to open this public comment period of this public hearing, I would just ask that if someone has already mentioned or talked about points that you all, any of you, were going to make, we hear that. And we would just ask that if you agree with someone that has already made a point at the podium, please come to the podium and say, I agree with John Doe and his points about blah. And leave it at that, because we will understand that and respect that and make note of the fact that you are in agreement with what's been stated before. Just trying to make this efficient, if we could please, but we do not want to keep anyone from speaking and providing comment to the council. Does that make sense? And is everyone in agreement with that, please? Then I will open this public comment portion of the public hearing. And Suzanne, whom do we have first?
Madam Mayor, real quick,
Yes.
before we do that, can we please ask each public commenter tonight if they are a registered voter of the city of Woodland Park?
Why?
Jeff? No.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Suzanne, who will we hear from first?
Oh, so Mayor, one thing excuse me, I'd like to add is I'd like to call the first speaker and then have the second speaker called on deck.
On deck,
Just to
certainly.
speed it up because we have about 72 minutes worth of public comments.
All right.
So,
We're gonna play baseball, so please be on deck
Yeah.
if you're next.
so the first speaker this evening is Mike DeMuth with Scott Talley on deck. So if Scott would come stand here So when Mike's ready, you can go.
Mike DeMuth, I'm a resident of Florissant.
Well,
All right. I have spoken to you all 4 times as the District Accountability Chairperson. This is the 5th time, and I'm going to speak to you as a very active member of this community. Now, I'm not going to be talking about all of you when I'm saying this stuff, but if you think I'm talking about you, I probably am. It's no doubt how important this issue is for our school district. Putting this back on the ballot is a completely inaccurate representation of who this tax affects. For example, only people in city limits will be voting on this. There are currently over 26,000 people in Teller County, almost all of whom commerce in Woodland Park and pay a majority of this tax. Also, this directly affects Summit Elementary School in Divide, as the mortgage for that school is paid right off the top of this tax. So the parents of kids there don't get any say. Neither do the ones who live on Sunnywood Avenue, Level Gulch, Rampart Range Road, or any other county maintained roads in the area, or people in Divide, Florissant, Victor, Cripple Creek, Lake George. These people this is going to affect, and putting it on the ballot isn't a good idea. The 4,000 to 5,000 people live within the city limits who will vote on this do not necessarily represent the rest of us or our children. Woodland Park is the main commerce point in Teller County and outlying areas. With grocery store prices in Divide and Cripple Creek, we can all agree on that one. Thousands of us commerce here, send our kids to school here, volunteer in the community here, and pay taxes here. Those of us with larger families and tourists pay more into this tax than the folks who would be voting. Putting this up to a vote of the small select portion of the community is unjust, inaccurate, and honestly, it's just unfair. Looking at it, here is what this all looks like to me personally. You won. You guys won. The school district did everything you asked. They bent over backwards and gave you everything you wanted in an amended IGA. Every step of the way, the district has done what you wanted, and now you're threatening to put it back on the ballot after the district agreed to do literally everything you asked. The whole time you keep moving the goalposts, every time they agree to it. Even with the amended IGA, in the end, you always have the power in your back pocket to just hold a special election anyway and have the small portion of the voters take the tax down. How crazy is that? Furthermore, the district really needs this money. Looking at a 10% plus or minus of the overall school budget after it pays for the mortgage at Summit Elementary School, which programs do you think they should cut? Which 10% of the bus routes should they cut? Or the sports, or the school clubs? One of you actually has a child in this school district. Which 10% of your child's education do you suggest they cut? Which 10% of your child's teachers should be fired? My God, I've seen you guys fight this school district tooth and nail. Now you come, and how can you be fighting to defund your own child's education? You guys are so blinded. You guys are so blinded by your own hatred for a conservative school board. You're willing to defund your own child's education. There are 2 teams of people here. There are the team of haters, the team of destructions.
I would appreciate if you would not have outbursts. I was just about to say something when you spoke up, sir. Thank you. And if you could stay
I'll
in
sum it up.
order.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate
There
it.
are 2 teams of people here. There's a team of haters, the team of destruction, the ones who want to tear down everything and hate everything. They call themselves the concerned parents on Facebook. They boycott veteran-owned businesses and make lists of conservative-owned local businesses to cancel.
Mike, thank
They
you. You're
heckle us.
finished.
We're going to be on team buildup. You guys can support team teardown if you want.
Thank you.
Okay, next speaker is Scott Talley with Amanda Lockman on deck.
Well said, Michael. We're here tonight because certain members of city council are trying to punish another county elected board that differs in political opinion. And our council is threatening financially to defund our children because of this political difference and because of lies that have been spread. For years, we've heard that our school board and superintendent have misappropriated funds, performed fraud, and have been dragged through the mud. Our schools already go through an annual independent audit that is reviewed by the Colorado Department of Education and made public. Then you add on the hundreds of Cora requests by the school election deniers. Wouldn't you think by now we'd have some sort of evidence of fraud? There is none. This is a hoax.
Here in Woodland Park, our schools are being put through an insane level of scrutiny unfoundedly, and it's making it harder to attract and retain qualified leaders because of the constant bullying by a select group of district opposition. Removing this tax will mean taking away funding from our schools that is partially being funded by tourist dollars. So either we lose programs and teachers, or we have to replace this money with a property tax funded 100% by our local residents. We have the formula right already. Why mess with it? In fact, let me read a quote from former Governor John Hickenlooper. In 2016, and I quote, "Funding for public education will not improve anytime soon." And he urged district leaders to find local funding sources, end quote. Many communities in Colorado are trying to mimic exactly what we have already accomplished to help with the school funding gap. Instead of defunding our kids, why not brag on them? According to the Denver Gazette just 1 week ago, and I quote, "Marking arguably the biggest improvements this year was Woodland Park RE2. In addition to improving math and English scores by nearly 10% this spring, the district is the latest to reach and then improve both of its 2019 scores and by significant margins," end quote. We also surpassed the state averages in both subjects. Let our town be a success story for our kids, not a political battlefield. If this tax is repealed, certain school district haters will sit back and watch 11% of school funding get ripped away, watch our leadership at the district level be forced into tough decisions like closing additional schools, firing dozens upon dozens of teachers, eliminating non-core subjects like art, music, and sports programs. Then they'll point the fingers and say, "Look what a mess the district is. Look how they mismanaged all of this. The superintendent and board all need to go." They will point the blame at the district, but we'll know where the blame truly lies. You see, many of the school haters are actively trying to defund our schools to the point of failure, so the Colorado Department of Education steps in and takes over. That's right, folks from Denver will come in and tell us how to run our schools and what our kids should and shouldn't be taught.
Thank you. Your time is up,
This
sir. I'm
council
sorry.
has the right to be adults in the room for our children. Our children have been failed by COVID and the decisions that adults have made for 4 years.
Thank you.
Stand up for our children.
Thank
Don't
you.
defund our schools.
So next is Amanda Lockman with Rhonda Roberts on deck.
All right, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. This issue has become a heated one because of hatred toward the current school board. But tonight's decision isn't about the school board. It's about whether we keep our schools funded or put them into a deficit. To strip away funds because some don't like the current school board also will mean a lack of funding if this current school board gets flipped in the next election. When cuts in funding happen, the school district doesn't get to cut the mortgage payments or utility costs, but it will most definitely have to cut something. According to the Colorado Department of Education, more than 80% of school budgets go toward staff salaries and benefits. If this funding were to disappear, we're looking at teacher layoffs or at the least salary reductions, larger class sizes, and significant cuts to the programs that make our schools special. We're all feeling the pinch of the inflation right now. And I understand the impulse to want to keep more money in our pockets, but we cannot do this at the expense of our educators and our students. This tax is a consumer tax that gives us, the citizens, more control. We get to decide where we shop and how much we spend. This tax allows us to support our schools, the students, and teachers by purchasing things we already need. If this tax is removed, the school district may be forced to ask for a mill levy override, leading to higher property taxes for everyone in the district without the same level of oversight. That is, if by some miracle it were to pass. Right now, not only do Woodland Park residents help fund our schools, but so do visitors and residents from surrounding areas. This approach spreads the burden and lightens the load on everyone. This is a good thing. I ask you to set aside personal frustrations and consider the impact on all property owning residents of the RE2 district, teachers and staff. And most importantly, think about the future of our students. I am asking you to please vote to kill this ordinance tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Rhonda Roberts with Patricia Perry on deck.
Rhonda, could you give us your name, full name and city of residence? And if all of you could remember to do that for me when you begin. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Rhonda Roberts and I live in Woodland Park. Good
Thank you.
evening, Mayor Case and council members. Excuse me, I thank those of you who responded to my email that I sent late last night. I apologize for the lateness of the hour. Excuse me. But if I had known that the IGA, amended IGA had been signed last week, my email would have been different. I just really have a couple of questions to ask the council after reading Councilwoman Harvey's response to my email. She stated in her response that the IGA between the city and school district needed to be amended to address the shortfall of not having a stringent reporting protocol for the tax use. She goes on to say that a new IGA doing this was signed by the mayor and the Board of Education president last week. She continues by saying, going forward, this guidance should help all of us understand how the tax is being used. So if we have fought these many months to get this IGA signed, and now we have an amended IGA signed, let the IGA and the mechanics of the IGA prove itself out. Let's do this. I implore you to stop to repeal this ordinance or to stop moving forward on this. And let us get on with the good work of uniting and bettering our community. And I will just say, I fully agree with the last, three speakers that have spoken. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Patricia Perry with Mary Sikowski on deck.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to address you, Mayor and City Council. My name is Patricia Perry. I am a taxpayer in Woodland Park. I pay my property taxes and I pay all my sales taxes. I am speaking to you on behalf of those that you may not see here. You may not see a lot of us here because we voted, and when we voted, we placed our faith in you to make judicious decisions about how tax money and how ordinances are proceeded and decided upon. You decide our water, you decide the use of our money. We appreciate that, and we have given you that trust. Those of us who voted, we love our children. We love all of our children. We love all of our children. We are not hateful. We are supportive of our students, of our teachers. We pay out of our own pockets for our teachers' supplies in their classrooms that they can't afford. We are happy to do that. But I am asking you to return the trust that we placed in you by letting us vote on this tax. Let us decide. We love and have a contract with our children as a grandparent and as a taxpayer. So please return the vote to us and trust us because we trusted you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Mary Sikowski with Gwen Peckman on deck.
Good evening, I'm Mary Sikowski. I live in Woodland Park. Madam Mayor and council members, thank you for taking the time to hear my remarks. They'll be very brief. I emailed all of you 9 reasons to end this tonight and no good reasons to continue this. I hope you all received that email and have been able to review it. Many of these points have already been mentioned and will be mentioned in other comments, I'm sure. So I just want to say I support killing this ordinance tonight. I hope you will do that. I've mentioned many times already in previous council meetings, some of these same reasons why, we shouldn't be here right now talking about this. Let's end this and let's come together to build our community. I agree with Mr. Demuth that, you know, we can be on the tear down or the build up team, and I think we should be on the build up team and stop this back and forth with this particular sales tax ordinance being threatened and being leveraged to be taken away. Thank you.
Thank you.
Then we have Gwen and then Jamison Dion on deck.
Gwen Peckron, Woodland Park. Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. I stand here in support of our students and staff in this district and ask you to vote no on more political feuds, vote no on further division in the city, and vote no on Ordinance 1480, repealing funding for schools. Did you know this year the district earned a rating of distinction at the elementary school level, the highest rating for this district-wide academic achievement and growth from combined scores at Summit, Merit Academy, Columbine, and Gateway? Did you know this year and last year, the district earned a rating of distinction at the middle school level for district-wide academic achievement and growth from combined scores at Woodland Park Middle School and Merit Academy? Did you know since CDE posted these district performance ratings in 2010, WPSD has never earned any ratings of distinction until now? Did you know WPSD schools have recently had state finalists or champions in cheer, swimming, science Olympiad, welding, forensics, and more? Did you know these WPSD teams include Woodland Park Middle School, high school, Merit Academy teams, and also include children from CSCS, homeschool, and surrounding districts? Did you know some district teachers, traditional and charter, have received national awards? I'd like to share a poem with you. It's called To a Teacher by Edgar Guest. To a teacher, with love we send our thanks and gratefulness, for you have been a truest friend in times of happiness. You've taught us more than textbooks should and shared a world unseen, encouraged us to do what's good, to strive and to achieve. Your patience, care, and gentle ways have touched each student's heart, inspiring us to brighter days where knowledge plays its part. So here's to you, dear teacher, dear. We're grateful every day for all the things you've done this year and for showing us the way. Did you know most of the district's expenditures are teacher salaries and benefits? Did you know with inflation, Colorado schools are funded at 1989 levels? Did you know about 24% of the educational sales tax goes towards a COP that decreased property tax by 6.725 mils? Did you know the building that is collateral for that COP paid by the sales tax is Summit Elementary? Did you know the Concerned Parents Facebook page put a call to action 2 days ago for 20 people to speak tonight against the district and the charter school? Did you know by pushing to defund schools or cause more division with this ballot question, that group wants to cancel parental choice and derail the district during these historic achievements, including the prestigious rankings of distinction? Did you know with these facts, the poem should read differently? The end. So here's to you, dear teacher, dear. We're grateful every day for all the things you've done this year and for showing us the way. But since we loathe the elected board, we want to make them pay. So cut funding, don't look forward. The children will betray. Please don't encourage more dissension and conflict. Please vote no.
Speaker is Jamison, and then Laura Gordon is on deck. Laura Gordon.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor Case and the rest of council. I moved back to Teller County in 2020, close to Woodland Park, the town where I was born and where I hope to be able to raise my children. There's just one thing that concerned us, however. The school system is notorious for its poor academic performance. As you're probably aware, this year's CMAS scores have been released, and the Woodland Park School District saw a 10 to 22% year-over-year increase, depending on the school, from 2023 scores. The scores from Summit Elementary, Merit Academy, and Woodland Park Middle are particularly notable, all achieving composite scores over 80%. Some schools in our district are now well within the top 22% of all public schools in Colorado with these latest scores. This gives parents like my wife and I a lot of hope that this district truly can set our sons and daughters up for success. I was going to ask for a quick round of applause for all the teachers, administrators, parents, and students that made these scores possible. Guess we could still do that. I know you hate that. Council members, as you know, I've been extremely concerned with the efforts of council to threaten another elected body using funding. The threshold for reporting that this council has set for the education sales tax has been set far higher than any other sales tax that the city collects. And I want to make it clear that if council proceeds forward with the ballot issue on this threshold, we should also apply the same logic to every other tax that's collected. And many of us will petition to ensure that other taxes, like the burdensome tax that the city levies on our grocery purchases, are also scrutinized by taxpayers on the ballot. And that's a commitment that I'm making to you this evening. Let's be consistent with the reporting threshold to the taxpayer on all taxes. That said, I'm hopeful that tonight's vote will mark a turning point for all of us. Recent presidential candidate Robert Kennedy recently remarked, "We have to love our children more than we hate each other." It's important to note that there will still be those in the community that choose hate over the welfare of our children, even if council votes in favor of our children and educators tonight. Those who are more concerned with side issues like having boys who identify as girls playing on girls' sports teams, or union leaders who would rather see us district defunded and folded under the custody of the state than see a vibrant school district, all because they aren't seated at the head of the table. It's said that weak men create hard times. Don't allow the weak men and women that wish to serve their petty political and self-serving interests continue to divide us on our mission to provide the best possible education for our children. As a quick side note on another topic that you have on the agenda, and I figured I'd just combine them.
No, we have to wait for that one.
You already did it.
I have you on as a speaker for 9C.
I know, rather than use 3 minutes for each and be respectful of your time, I just have a side note on the Second Amendment.
She didn't open the public hearing yet, though.
We haven't opened
Okay,
that public
then I'll-
hearing,
I'll just use
Jameson. It's
20
just out
seconds of your
of
time when you do that.
procedure.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, no worries.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time.
Laura Gordon and Logan Ruth's on deck.
Good evening. My name is Laura Gordon and I live in Woodland Park city limits. My husband and I have owned a home here in Woodland Park since the end of 2013, and we have had a child, at least one child in the school district since 2015. I was here in 2016 when our community voted for the 1.09% increase in sales tax for our schools, and I voted in favor of it. I remember that at the time, the middle school roof had a terrible leak with no budget to fix it. I also remember even then hearing how underpaid our teachers were. It was my hope that the additional sales tax would solve those issues. But a study of our school facilities in March 2022 shows nearly $35 million of facility needs. The 3 buildings that needed the most funding for repairs were Summit, Columbine, and the high school. However, when I drove by the empty Gateway building to drop my middle schooler and high schooler off at the secondary campus yesterday morning, I noticed HVAC vehicles parked in front of the empty school and people walking into the building with tools. The Gateway building is no longer serving our students, and there has been no communication from the school district about what the building will be used for. Yet it is getting money thrown at it while our buildings with our students in them are wanting. As for our teachers' pay, they are still among the lowest, if not the lowest, in the region. Meanwhile, the superintendent is paying himself more than most superintendents in the area, and he's not even at our schools full time. He receives pay bonuses and increases in his salary without evaluation of his performance or accountability by the school board, while our teachers have been moved to a performance-based pay. If our teachers are on performance-based pay, then shouldn't the district admin be as well? They should be evaluated by the number of students that are enrolled in our district and by teacher retention. Last year, under this superintendent and school board's leadership, our district, including the charter school, lost nearly 100 students. That same year, we lost over 1/3 of the teachers and staff and had another major upheaval this year with the closing of one of our elementary schools and the merger of 2 of our schools into one building. With that came more student loss and more staff turnover. All of this is to say that it is my experience that the Woodland Park School District School Board and Superintendent are not using the 1.09% sales tax money for the purposes that we voted for. They are definitely not using it to benefit the education of my 4 school children or the students in their schools. Please give me and my fellow Woodland Park citizens the opportunity to vote on whether we would like to keep or revoke the school sales tax in the upcoming election. If the community decides to revoke the sales tax, the school district can always return to applying for the millions of dollars in grants that they have been denying our students.
The next speaker is Logan Roots with Keegan Barkley on deck.
Logan, if you'll just give me a second, if you all would please be respectful and hold your applause. Everyone has emotional outbursts. I appreciate that. But it would just help us get things done faster. Thank you so much. Go ahead.
I'll keep this short, as I'm sure this is already going to be a lengthy meeting. The school board and administration have continually and deliberately worked to delay the process for as long as possible, so that they can collect our tax dollars while rewriting their books to make sure that they look good. And they've been largely successful. It's really sad, actually. The fact that the superintendent came in pronouncing the district to be run like a business, only to turn around and complain that baseline business accounting is too difficult, illustrates how absurd their delay actually is. If someone knew anything about business, they would certainly know something about accounting. As someone who worked for the district at the administrative level, I can attest to the level of mismanagement and corruption that runs rampant through the so-called leadership. We lost 60 years between 3 people in a single month because of this superintendent. Not only have they failed to provide appropriate financial information to the city, they have actively worked to manipulate the narrative in an attempt to normalize their chaos and normalize the situation that we're in, where they have spent who knows how much. We really don't. Somewhere around 9 million, I think was the last number we saw. $9 million gone. And they're sitting here saying we need to give them more tax dollars. I don't think that that's right. Adam, the damage that they have done to the students, the families in this community is irreversible. And they only continue to put themselves above everyone else. We see it tonight as people climb up here and spread lies about information and then claim that there's lies about information going around. It's wild to watch. It's a crazy time we live in. If you forgo taking this to the ballot, you would be showing that you believe that the views and positions of every voter in Woodland Park hasn't changed since 2016, 8 years ago. And we already know that the demographic has changed thanks to the actions of the school board. You know, we've lost a lot of community members here. A lot of my friends have left because of them. The only morally straight path forward is to put the tax back on the ballot, to let the people decide and vote on it like we do in the United States of America as a democratic republic. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next is Keegan Barkley with Sarah. Sarah, you're next. Sarah's patiently waiting.
Hello, Council, Mayor. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak this evening. The reason I'm here is because I've been asked to address the sales tax issue by many of the people in the community, actually many of the people in this room, and people on both sides of this debate, actually. As an individually elected school board member, I do not have the authority to speak for the board. I was not involved in the negotiations of the IGA, so I'm not in the position or trying to take the position to try and sway you in your decision this evening. But I do feel it is my responsibility to represent my constituents honestly. So, as we've heard here tonight, I have heard it said by those who wish to keep the tax as it is, that it is not this council's place to decide the fate of the sales tax. that the motivation to do so is purely retaliatory, and that the loss of those funds would remove resources our children need. And I have heard it said, like many people tonight, that those who wish the current tax to be repealed or to be put to a vote, that the original tax was written with too many loopholes and room for ambiguous accounting, and that this has led to the loss of resources for our children. The common themes I'm hearing from both sides is that they have lost trust in their elected leaders to make choices, and that both sides want our children to have the resources that they need. Now, I'm a huge supporter of the public education system, clearly. In a perfect world, we would have the funds to support our students and to pay our teachers. I think it goes without saying that every school would benefit from more funding. And like many of the people in this room that I've heard speak tonight, I'm afraid. I'm afraid that if the sales tax is repealed, the schools will not get the funding they need and our children will lose even more resources. But if the council decides to add this issue to the November ballot, and if it is the will of the voters that the current sales tax be repealed, I still see reason for hope. Much like Mr. Jameson said, I think our love for our children is stronger than our differences. If we need a new sales tax initiative, I see an opportunity for our community to come together, an opportunity to ensure that all sides feel they are being served equitably, an opportunity to build trust within our community and in our elected officials. If the current sales tax is repealed, I would love to see a coalition of parents from both sides pulling in the same direction to ensure that the next initiative works for all of our students and gets voter support it needs to pass. I have faith in this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next
Thank you
speaker,
all, too.
Sarah, and then Leanna Telly's on deck.
Hi, my name is Sarah Voget. I live in Woodland Park and I'm a property taxpayer and registered voter there. I'm a lifelong resident of the Pikes Peak region and my family have been Woodland Park residents since 2021. In my life, I've never voted against increased funding for public education. I'm a product of public school myself. I have a degree in secondary education and my mother-in-law was a career public school teacher. So it feels more than a little strange to stand here tonight and urge you in the strongest possible terms to put the question of the sales tax to voters this November so that I can vote to repeal it. And that makes me honestly really sad. Because as much as I believe in the value of public education, I also care deeply about fairness and the responsible stewardship of public resources. Even with the amended IGA, the sales tax initiative as currently written leaves too much open to interpretation. The initiative's ambiguous language worked in 2016, but in the changed landscape of Woodland Park School District today, it's not enough. The Courier reported that the president of the school board said that leaving the sales tax intact would bring healing with our community, but I couldn't disagree more. Since this elected official has never responded to an email that I've sent to the district as an alarmed parent, I can't help but question his understanding of community healing. True healing would mean giving Woodland Park a direct voice on this question. And in the event that the tax is repealed, I'm in complete agreement with Director Barkley that we need to draft and pass a new ordinance with clearly defined guardrails, consequences, and most importantly, input from all sides. For the past 2.5 years, I have felt so unheard by the leaders in this town when it comes to my kids' education. I am asking you to give me the chance to be heard now. Let me vote on the sales tax in November. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Leanna Tally and Nicole Wagoner is on deck.
Leanna Talley, CPA, Merit Academy CFO from Woodland Park. By now, you all know me as I have stood before you in the past discussing school finance in my role as the volunteer and unpaid liaison between the city council and the school district during the CFO vacancy in the district. Tonight, I would like to present some numbers to you that represent real scenarios of the fallout of removing sales tax funding. Let's start with 30. 30 is the number of teachers in this community whose salaries and benefits are paid through sales tax dollars. 30. That is 30 local people who may lose their jobs if funding is removed. 30 people that you know, that you see in the grocery store, go to church with, people who are your friends. 30 people that you represent. Now, we know schools have an obligation to provide basic education in reading, writing, mathematics, the core subjects. So perhaps the schools will choose to lay off fewer people and instead cut extracurricular activities, using those cost savings to close the funding gap. This brings me to another number, 46. 46 is the number of Woodland Park High School football players. Running a football team is expensive and not required. 46 student athletes may lose their team, their chances at scholarships or a pathway to college. Possibly they'll lose the one place in school where they feel like they truly belong. 46. And what about the rest of the 1,847 students in this district? 65,000 sales tax dollars are budgeted to be spent on safety and security. In light of yesterday's tragic school shooting, I don't think I need to go into why safety and security is important to the 1,847 local students and their families. These are real scenarios that will have to be considered and decisions that will have to be made. Tonight, this matter and its serious consequences rest in the 14 hands of you, our 7 members of City Council. Please don't defund our schools. Please don't do this to our teachers, our students, and our community. Please make the one right choice. Vote no to putting this initiative on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Nicole Wagoner, and then Christina Dye is on deck. Okay, then David Sauer. He had to leave. Okay, here we go. Then Shannon. Is Shannon Valera here? You're on deck then. Thank you, Nicole.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council members. My name is Nicole Wagoner. I'm a mother of 4 children in this district, and I am speaking tonight in opposition to the ballot initiative regarding the 1.09% sales tax to benefit our schools. This entire conversation began with the false narrative that the school board was stonewalling the City Council on accountability for how the sales tax funds were being spent. That has since been corrected and acknowledged that both parties were at fault for the oversight and reporting, and a report has since been made. However, that began a ball rolling, which has culminated in the discussion here tonight. The school district has worked in good faith with the City Council to amend the IGA twice to put the accountability in place which the City Council was after. As that has now been done, there is absolutely no reason to move forward with this ballot initiative. You have all said at one point or another that no one wants to take money away from the schools. You only want better accountability. Now that this amended IGA is in place, you owe it to everyone to keep your word and see that accountability through, rather than continuing to move the goalpost, putting the issue of repealing the tax on the ballot. The only reason to continue this is out of a desire to do harm to our schools and personal vendettas. It would be fiscally irresponsible and harmful to remove this tax. In addition to everything that's already been said, the COP has about 10 years left to be paid off. What funds will pay that if the tax which was supposed to do so is taken away? Schools must be funded, so property taxes will have to go up, hurting those in our community on fixed incomes the most. Tourists contribute a large amount to this tax. That burden would fall solely on our citizens if the tax were repealed. There is no benefit here to moving forward with this ballot initiative, and only sends a message that Woodland Park does not value our teachers or the education of our children. It feels as though this conversation has been exhausted and we are beating a dead horse. Yet still, some of you continue to push a path that will harm our children, their academic offerings in this district, and their futures. I'm sure you have received many emails asking for this to be put on the ballot by the concerned parents. Baseless accusations of fraud, hatred for individuals, hatred for the American birthright standards, distrust and hatred for the city's attorney, questions about how things are being run in the district. Meaning no disrespect. None of these are any of the city council's concern. You are not the school board 2.0. You are the city council for Woodland Park. The only concern you have with the school district is regarding accountability for how the 1.09% tax is being used, which you now have in place. That has been your stated goal and the request of the taxpayers, according to all the phone calls and emails you have said in prior meetings that you have fielded. Do not change your goal in the 11th hour. Our schools are improving across the board. CMAS results prove that in a measurable way. Celebrate the success. Don't attempt to do harm by opening a pathway to defund our schools. Vote no on Ordinance 1480. Thank you.
Thank you. It's Shannon Valero and then Susan Schaefer's on deck.
Good evening. I'm Shannon Valaro. I am a Woodland Park resident. I had something written out, but I think I need to kind of clarify just something a little bit. I don't think that having this go to the voters is necessarily saying that anybody wants to defund the schools. I think that there's been a lot of things that have changed since 2016. And we've had new schools come, we've had schools closed down, we've lost a lot of students, we've just different things like that. I think this is just giving a say for the people to say what they want their sales tax to go to. I ask a lot. I email school board all the time. And as a parent, I don't get, Mr. Bates has never emailed me back. Nobody listens to us. And I just feel like this might be a way for us to kind of work together and see where that tax should go. Right now, I don't know exactly where it goes. I know as a parent, I have to pay around $150 at the beginning of the school year for core classes that my kid has to take. And I don't know why that's not paid by sales tax that I give money to with my purchases. It's just different things like that. The lack of transparency in the school board, the decision to petition the state to withdraw from the Ute Pass BOCES was a decision made without informing parents at all. There wasn't. This is an important decision. This is true. I could talk to you more about that if you want to, but I'm grateful that the city council worked with the Woodland Park School District on the IGA. I just think that maybe put it back to the voters to see if that's what they want done with their sales tax. It's not defunding, it's just asking the citizens what they want. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Schaefer and Nicole Brocky's on deck.
Hi, my name is Susan Schaefer and I live in Woodland Park. I have serious concerns regarding the council resubmitting the 1.09% sales tax for the November ballot. While it is undeniably responsible to request accountability from the district, they have been highly cooperative during a very difficult time. Of greater importance is avoiding higher property taxes. There is no harm whatsoever to the tourists traveling through our community paying this sales tax. None. How many communities would be thrilled to have this option for school funding? But if higher property taxes are forced upon us, the damage to our small community will likely never be repaired. Please don't waste this wonderful opportunity to bring our community together by continuing to work with the district. You are in a unique position to be true leaders, to do the fiscally wise thing while being peacemakers in a time that our community is polarized. This issue should be about responsibly administrating policy which was accomplished with the signed IGA, not political payback. Please choose wisely and vote no to reestablish the sales tax on the ballot in November. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Nicole, and then we have Eric Lockman on deck.
Thank you. Nicole Broccoli, Woodland Park. First of all, I'm very grateful for the city council and the mayor to work towards this amended IGA. I specifically want to thank Mayor Case and Councilmember Harvey for going through these negotiations. I believe what we have in front of us with this changed IGA is really a huge step forward. Because we should not forget why we are here tonight, right? We are here tonight because of a call for transparency on what this sales tax is being spent on. We are here tonight because of a divide in the community and a lack of trust in this community towards our school board. Unfortunately, this city council, as you might all agree, has contributed to that lack of trust in this community. Now we have to decide not on the sales tax, but whether we need to put this back on the ballot in November for the citizens to decide on. Now let's not kid ourselves. What are the people going to vote on in November? They are not going to vote on whether our schools need this funding. They are not going to vote on whether our children need this funding. This is going to be a vote on whether we like or do not like this school board. That is not right, and you know it. Repealing this sales tax in November is detrimental for 3 reasons. First, this will be a city vote and not a county vote. And I fully support the comments made by Mike Demuth in the beginning regarding this. Secondly, as we've also heard, Colorado's funding for schools is at a 1989 level. Let me put some numbers to this. Colorado spends about $11,000 a year per pupil on education. New York, $25,000. That's more than double. Not one person tonight has told you that this sales tax is no longer needed, that it has fulfilled its purpose. Not one. We have heard things like facility improvements that have to be done. These are being paid in part by the sales tax. We've heard things about pay raises, that our teachers are underpaid. They have received pay raises in the past, but I absolutely agree. We can do better. They are being paid by the sales tax. We have heard things like mismanagement of funds. That exactly speaks to the point I was making. Are we voting on the sales tax, or are we voting on whether we like or do not like our school board? Because that vote is coming up next year, not this year. We've heard things like the responsible use of funds. That is exactly what this revised IGA is doing. We want to have some kind of control over what this money is being spent on. If this sales tax is being repealed in November, you will lose the one and only possibility you have to have some kind of oversight over this. It makes no sense whatsoever. I am looking forward to seeing this council's reports on the school board's monthly reporting when it is in place. Thank you.
Eric is next, and then Belinda Walsh is on deck.
Hi, Eric Lockman, Woodland Park. So I grew up with a dad that told me to use your head. He said, use your head. And so when I make decisions, I use my head. I'm moved by my heart, but I make decisions with my head. And that's why I'm a little confused here tonight, because your heart may say, well, the school board can't be trusted with $3.2 million of sales tax. But your head would tell you that sales tax is actually going to teacher salaries. Your head would tell you that that's going to electives. Those are going to the school which it needs. This is political, and it is very energized because people are using their hearts. And I want to thank Mayor Case Councilmember Jones and Councilmember Smith, you've given every one of your constituents that stood here your attention, and the others have had other things on their mind, I think. The thing I'm concerned about is I am for transparency. I am for accountability. If I thought something was going on with the school board, this is what this IGA offers. If this IGA goes away, there is no transparency, there is no accountability. It goes back to state reporting. They have no obligation to do monthly reporting. And that's what we want. And I don't think that your hearts are wrong. I think you guys are motivated for children, for spending the money the correct way. But I think the hearts are getting in the way of making a logical decision of how do we make this happen? I think you've all run to bring good ideas to the table, to bring novel ideas. And that's what this offers. It's a novel idea to fund our teachers through tourists and through other opportunities that are not, that give us an opportunity to spend more or spend less. And if you're lavish and you have a lot of money, you can spend more. If you need to tighten up, you can tighten up. And that's what this offers Woodland Park. Because we are a home rule state city, we can do that. Other cities can't do that. And that's why in your whereases, it's different for us. It's not a different burden, it's a different opportunity. And so we should take that opportunity. So I guess my point is we need to keep this so that we can continue the oversight and the transparency, work through the IGAs. It took you months and months to figure this out through the IGA. You will not be able to give all that information on the ballot for someone to make an educated cast a ballot. So thank you.
Thank you.
Belinda Walsh and Kershid Rogers is on deck.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Just want to say thank you for giving me the time to speak. And I just want to say thank you for all that you guys do up there. I know it can be a hard job, but and I know that you've been through a lot, all of us have been talking, but I just wanted to say, asking the council just to end this and to protect our children and the salary of the teachers. That's really what it comes down to. So I just ask you to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Kershid, and then Carol Greenstreet's on deck.
My name is Kershid and I live in Woodland Park. My comment tonight is about placing the question of continuing the 1.09 sales tax on the November ballot. I currently have a senior and an exchange student attending Woodland Park High School, but starting this year, I am driving my middle schooler down to Manitou Springs. Both she and I have grieved deeply over the decision to try Manitou and have shed many tears between us. But the situation in our Woodland Park schools has been very troubling to me over the last 3 years. I feel that the board and current superintendent have not had the best interests of our traditional public schools at heart. I don't have trust around transparent conduct or financial decisions or treatment of staff. We have lost so many amazing staff and students, and now down to 3 buildings, it appears there's no intention to foster growth within our traditional public schools. I have been deeply invested in our schools for the last 12 years, and for the last 3, I have been deeply involved in efforts around accountability with our school board. During those 3 years, I have really had to ask myself almost daily, how do I conduct myself in a way that is in accordance with my values? Or does this action reflect my integrity? And it's been really hard. And the fact that it's been that hard, to me, is another indicator that we are in a very troubling situation. For example, when I participated in the attempt to recall 3 board members, I had to examine whether I was setting an example of working peacefully for change or whether I wasn't working hard enough at cooperation. If I saw programs eroding under this leadership and I jumped in to help mitigate the damage, was I doing a good thing by helping kids, or was I undermining an effort to shine a light on what was being eroded? By taking my middle schooler down to Manitou, am I voting with my feet and stating in the only way I have left that I am in disagreement with this board? Or am I abandoning my community? These are just 3 examples of many where rigorous self-examination was required. And I can pledge that I've done my best to be thoughtful, respectful, and thorough in my decision-making. But I bring this up because I put the issue of the tax in the same category of difficult decisions. In all honesty, I am completely conflicted about it. The absolute last thing I would want to do is hurt the students and staff I love so much up here. But I also don't want to continue funding initiatives that are taken without gathering stakeholder input and that are resulting in so many losses. I would not want to make this decision for the community, and I'm not sure that this decision should fall on the 7 of you. So by putting this initiative on the ballot, it allows the responsibility of this decision to be shared, and it would call upon all voters to think about what reflects their value set and what actions are aligned with their integrity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carol Greenstreet and Gail Garrick is on deck.
Carol Greenstreet, Woodland Park. I've been here many times in front of you before. My coming today is not really as much to give an opinion about whether this tax should go or not. I hate to see this tax go. I was one that worked hard for it. And just for clarification, for those in the audience that don't know, it's not possible for the entire district to vote on this tax. It is a city tax. The district cannot create a sales tax on its own. So it was voted on initially by Woodland Park voters. And so it's reasonable that it would only be voted on by Woodland Park voters again. My question is something that perhaps was in the original addendum that you guys did on the IGA, but I just saw it this time. And it's towards the beginning, and it says under that 5.5, it says Merit Academy, which I'm going to say this, I say it every time, I'm not opposed to Merit Academy sharing the sales tax, period. But it says, and any other charter and contract schools. That's where my concern lies. I still am unsure as to exactly what a contract school is. I know that there are charter schools and contract schools that are mostly online and that serve students around the state of Colorado, not our local students. I am very much opposed to any of those situations coming into our district and being supported by our local sales tax. It is for our local students. And I know that that question was asked in the joint meeting between the council and the Board of Education. And the attorney answered, that's not on the table right now, but I see it in here now. And so that concerns me. I would like something either redone in addendum, or I would like to see it go to the voters without that clause of any other charter or contract school. The other thing I would say is I just read a book on Laconian democracy, and he talked about the problems during the Civil War and the passions on both sides. Tonight, what you've mostly seen are people from traditional public schools that feel as though they have been neglected and they're unhappy. And you've seen people from the charter school who feel like they've gotten what they want and need for their school, and they want the sales tax to continue. This is a bit of a civil war within our own community. And so in some ways, it does fall within the purview of the city council, maybe to help bring those sides together a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Garrick will be our final speaker, Mayor, this evening.
Thank you, Suze.
Gail Gehrig, Woodland Park. Good evening, Council and Mayor. The IGA is signed, but it is just a part of the bigger story for Woodland Park. Brad Miller, Superintendent Ken Witt, the Woodland Park School District Board, and Andrew Romick's mission is to dismantle our public school system. Every year results in further destruction. We've lost 2 schools and no longer have a middle school. Students, families, and teachers have fled. Employee positions remain vacant. Now small children have almost 1 hour added to their school day because they are bused to a school out of town. And did you read the mother's letter in the Courier yesterday? I will read one sentence from it. My son will spend 6th grade in a cramped trailer, half of which is still used for storage. An appalling 6th grade classroom environment. These people do not care about our students' welfare. It is well known that Womack and Karis will take over Woodland Park due to sheer numbers of students they will have in the near future. They will try to achieve their 7 mountains, having already taken over control of our education system. But one way constituents can help lessen the takeover is to have strong city government. By controlling services, the city could help this takeover. A previous mayor and city council that allowed Karis Bible College failed us because of lack of foresight. And giving sales tax money to a political and religious school district faction that is financially irresponsible is not in the best interest of Woodland Park or us as taxpayers. Please vote yes on Resolution 1480 and allow the voters to decide. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Yes. We'll start with Mick. And we had someone in the back of the room. And then you.
Mayor and council, I just have a couple brief comments. As a concerned citizen, I have heard accusations of fraud here tonight. I have heard accusations of fraud from people sitting up there in that circle. And I, as a concerned citizen, say that if you have information of fraud, please report that to a legal agency. I mean, if there is genuinely fraud within this school district, please report it to the necessary officials because that's unacceptable. That is totally unacceptable. But I hear this all the time, but I hear accusations, but I do not hear examples. And I assure you that under the CDE's guidelines, I don't know if fraud could take place. Decades ago, some fraud did take place in the Woodland Park School District. But I do think that things have been fixed and repaired so that something not like that wouldn't happen. But I continually hear this accusation of fraud. And if indeed someone sees fraud taking place, please report it to law enforcement because that's unacceptable to me as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Sir, in the back of the room? All right, thank you.
Hi, my name is Johnny Miller. I'm from Divide.
Hi.
I wrote a speech, but I'm gonna just really quickly sum up. I agree with Keegan and Sarah. I think we need to start over with the IGA. We need strict guardrails. We need transparency. Parents have been begging for transparency for the last few years. And we just want to know where our money's going. And we want our kids to be taken care of. We want our teachers to be funded. We want our schools to be funded. Please just consider putting it on the ballot. Thank you.
right, sir.
Thank you, council. Thank you, Mayor. I'm George Roush. I recently moved to Tranquil Acres. I'm 23 years old. I have a master's degree and I'm probably the county's youngest homeowner. And I don't have a written speech, so I just have a question for everybody in the audience by show of hands. Who here thinks that the school district is overfunded? That schools in our county are overfunded? Okay, well, that settles it. And that's kind of my point is, I'm very surprised that as a conservative, libertarian leaning conservative, I'm up here defending taxes. But I like to think that I'm living proof that public schools work and that school funding does in fact work. And that if you continue to fund your schools, you will have more citizens in the next generation like myself who are able to attend these meetings because they're able to buy their own homes. And I would like to follow up with, if you don't like something that your school board is doing, I highly recommend that instead of ripping the floor out from under your students and threatening them and threatening to take away what little they have, instead you offer to build a roof over their heads. That if they do what you want them to do, you offer additional taxes and additional money for the schools, because everything that I'm hearing, it sounds like they don't have enough. And I think if you guys give these schools a chance and you give them an opportunity to do what you're looking for from them, I believe that they will deliver. And with that, I will simply remind you, as American citizens and as civil servants, we have one sacred obligation, and that is to our children. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Eric. Right, Eric's our last person unless I see someone else with a hand. Thank you very much. Eric,
Aaron.
last but not least.
Just like your lawyer.
Aaron, I'm sorry.
There you go, city
For heaven's
manager.
sake.
Thank you. Just wanted to bring up a couple things from a leadership perspective. In order for people to follow you, you need to be consistent. It's hard for, even as a manager, shop owner, a business owner, if you're constantly this way, that way, this way, there's no way people will follow you. They'll be confused. There'll be dissension within the ranks. When we met months ago and this first came up and it was brought up that, hey, we shouldn't do this. You said we need better accountability. I agree. You're right. This board has done what you've asked them to do. As leaders, you should follow through with what you said you would do. And that was, we're not going to put this forward. We're going to table it. If the board complies with what we want, we're not going to put this forward as a ballot initiative. And yet here we are. I question what kind of leadership is that? You've got to give time for the process to be able to take place. And I want to say to what Mick said about fraud, the Attorney General is that hotline that you call. If you suspect fraud, you have a duty and a responsibility as a citizen of this community to report fraud to the Attorney General and let them investigate, because I'm with you. If they're taking money from us and they're defrauding our government, let them go to jail. Let's put the money where it needs to be, but let's stop with the rhetoric. If you don't have facts and figures, you're liable. You're an elected official. You can't say that you think there's fraud. Your words have weight and matter. You need to have facts and figures. And if you don't, keep your mouth quiet. Let's be the leader who leads from the front and doesn't accuse people and create dissension within our town, our city. I love this place. And I think we can do great things. Let's start with this. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'm not seeing anyone dying to come forward, so I'm going to close the public comment portion of this item and look to the council for debate or a motion.
So, Madam Mayor, I'll just jump in here.
Yes, sir.
Couple of things I think are important to note. There seems to be an odd amount of certainty that if it goes before the voters, that it'll automatically get voted down. So I'd like to first start by reminding everyone that all this ordinance does is put it in front of the voters. The outcome is entirely determined by the voters. And if the voters of the city of Woodland Park choose to continue this tax, we have the signed IGA to require the transparency and reporting to do that moving forward. But if they choose not to continue the tax, then we have an opportunity to come together as a community and put something better together, which is something that several people have made a point of. So I'm struck by the certainty that the tax will be repealed, which just makes me wonder if it's so certain that it's going to be repealed. It just makes me think, should it even be there to begin with? So, you know, I just found the public comment to be interesting, and I want to thank everyone for coming and voicing their opinions, on this matter tonight. I thought it was a really good discussion overall. And so I wanted to kind of shut myself up right there by saying that, but, I'll let anyone else chime in that wants to.
Anyone else, council, have any comments?
Yeah, so what is the motion that we would move forward? How would we move this forward?
Well, there would be two options. That would be an option to approve the ordinance or a motion, not an option, a motion to approve the ordinance, or a motion to defeat the ordinance.
Actually, ma'am, there's a third option, and that would be to continue.
Oh, to continue. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Carol.
Yeah. So the one thing I would say, we don't have a motion on the floor right now.
We do not.
So we're not debating the motion, but I think from the public comment, I do agree with the idea that we worked very hard to put an IGA in place, and that came together last week. So I do think we need to exercise that. We need to let it play out.
Thank you, George. I would just, on the heels of that, I would say that we put together what we as a council felt would be a very clear and informational process. We had Aaron involved, we had Ms. Talley involved, and myself, although I've been out of the business a while, and put together something that is very similar to the way we account for our 1 cent sales tax money, which is specifically by the voters to be used for streets and related, meaning drainage, curb and gutter, etc. And so we asked to impose that type of accounting on these funds within the school district so that we can get those reports back and the details and the specifics of what those funds were to the invoice, if you will, back on an accountability reporting method. And we gave them the time to get a CFO on board, to get positioned to be able to do that. And so I personally, just as myself, find that it's appropriate that we give them the opportunity to be successful in this commitment to do that for the people and for the council.
Yeah, but
Or not.
putting it on the ballot doesn't have any effect on their opportunity to perform on the IGA.
It can,
It can, yeah.
I
certainly.
mean, why?
Be
I mean, we
voted
just
down
signed it
before we
last
get
week.
to the IGA, before we get to January, before we see the first report.
But they'll still get the money until next June.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
but-
the ordinance doesn't end the tax until it's June 1st,
Right,
I think.
but still, I mean, at that point, what are we looking at? We're gonna look at a year's worth, 6 months, and then every month we'll be able to look at it and then it goes away. And to your point, I think that the public, myself included, does believe that this will get shot down. There's a lot of effort to do that right now. And I just think it's a terrible move. It's, as I said before, I think it's a devastating move to a school district.
I think it's a devastating move to our community.
Well, yeah,
An already divided, and I hate the word polarized, but a divided community. As was said, I think we're obligated as leaders to put our personal feelings aside and do the right thing for the community as a whole. I'll stop preaching.
Before a motion is made or we move to that decision-making process, I did want to comment on a couple of things that were brought up in discussion and like Councilman Gear, thank you all for your input. It's helped me inform a decision I will probably have to make here in a few minutes. But I did want to, there was a comment about, a vote going only to the citizens of Woodland Park. Well, it was only the voters of Woodland Park that approved the tax itself in 2016. And legally, that's the only way it can be voted on, unless the council had taken the action to repeal the tax on their own. This is an important enough issue that it should go back to the community if that is in question. There's also been discussion that if the tax were repealed, that there would be a direct correlation with property taxes, and that is not the case. Mill levies can only be, again, voted on by the residents of the community where those mill levies are applied. The other part of it is about a question that Carol Greenstreet brought up, which is a good question. In the IGA that was amended earlier in the year, we talked about making the reporting requirement apply to not only the traditional public schools, but also to the charter school. Charter schools are very much a part of our public school system. Merit Academy is an organic and grassroots effort that came to fruition, and I appreciate that. There is no legal requirement to provide a per pupil distribution of that sales tax, a local tax, to a charter school unless it is part of the contract that was approved by the Board of Education. And in this case, when the charter school was authorized, they did include a very specific paragraph that said that they would also be a recipient of the sales tax. Any future school, the reason that the addendum now includes the verbiage that would include charter schools and contract schools, and I'm like Mrs. Greenstreet, I don't know exactly what a contract school is. If it's an online academy, I would definitely not be in favor of sharing that very precious gift that the community gave the school district. I do not believe that that's appropriate to distribute that to an online academy. But the point in making the addendum also include charter schools and potential contract schools is that everyone should have the requirement, all of the schools that are the recipient of that sales tax should have the requirement to report on how they're using it. Here's where I am in my decision-making process. I worked with Mayor Case, our city attorney, our city manager, as well as President Bates. And I think there was also another representative from the BOE there, as well as Ms. Talley, who frankly, in the discussions that we had about accounting was a very, very crucial part of that discussion and persuaded me to understand that it is possible to do monthly reporting. I mean, we all take care of our own budgets at home, and we certainly know how to keep a ledger on how many, well, maybe some people don't write checks anymore, but I still have a check ledger. But that was a shortcoming of the revised IGA that we had previously signed. The council was not specific enough. And I think with the new specificity of the addendum, we have a better way to help the district report, not only segregate the tax out of the general fund, but to report and make that report accessible by the website, not by core requirements, for God's sake. So here's where I stand. We have an ordinance that could put this on the ballot in November. That ballot's pretty darn ambitious. I already know that. There's probably at least 3 pages of questions. You put a question at the back of the ballot that says, do you want to continue this tax or do you not? Well, guess what's going to happen? People are going to say, I don't want to have another tax. I want to get rid of the tax. There's also going to be another tax question on there from the ambulance district. And I, wish them luck, but in the type of ballot we're going to see in November, I don't think they have a snowball's chance in where. So what I'd like to propose and make a motion to do is to actually not put this question on the ballot. However, the first reporting requirement for the school district is in January. If there's evidence that this is not going to work, that this is not something that the school district is going to be capable of doing, and there's a number of reasons that occur. There's a new CFO, there's new software that's going to be onboarded. Then we go to a special election. Yes, it costs the community a little bit more money to go to a special election. But at that point in time, I think in good faith, my own moral belief is that we have given the school district an opportunity to make good on this with the amended IGA. And so with that, Madam Mayor, I would like to make a motion to vote no on ordinance. What number are we calling this?
It is 1480.
Madam Mayor, I still had some comments. please.
Well, as soon as we put this on the table for consideration, then we can have that discussion.
Can I ask you something? I know you're just about to, I think we have to move the motion forward and then defeat it, right?
Yes, and that's the
Okay,
motion I intend to make. Move the motion forward. No, we can say vote no. We've done that previously.
We could, to defeat the ordinance.
Yes, that is
And
my
a
motion.
no vote would be to
We can go through this every time.
Yep. See, this is what I'm thinking it has to come forward, right? You have to make a motion.
you can make a motion.
You
to
can make a
approve.
motion to approve, requires a second, and you vote. You can also make a motion to postpone indefinitely, kill the bill. That gets a second, you can vote on that.
Okay, we can make a motion to appeal. Repeal the ordinance, correct?
To kill.
Kill's the word, okay. And here's the deal, if we were to continue it, which is something that I have been struggling with for a week now, it would have to be rewritten, even if we continued it until January, to bring it up for a special election at a later date, it would probably have to be modified. So my motion is to kill the bill.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Terry?
So I prepared some remarks so that I could stay on track and not jump all over the place. Some of this is actually in response to some of the public comment tonight. So I feel like I anticipated my own thoughts ahead of time, which is good. So when this board, the current board was elected, they ran on a conservative platform, which we're in Teller County, so that was great. However, I expected conservative spending, fiscally responsible spending. The district has been doing deficit spending for the past 2 years. And for those of you who aren't familiar with that, it means that they're budgeting to spend more than they anticipate receiving. Reserves have gone from $10 million to 5 million and now down to 1 million. I'm surprised that the CDE, which is the Colorado Department of Education, hasn't intervened. Woodland Park families and highly qualified and experienced staff, I think you heard from one of the other speakers, about 60 years of experience have walked out the doors. One of the recent and emerging themes of input provided by you all is that City Council has an extreme bias or dislike for the current Board of Education and Superintendent. And I'm gonna speak for myself, that's not true. I've met one of them, and that was Sue Patterson, and I introduced myself to her at Walmart right after she got elected and said, keep your chin up, period. Believe I've met Mr. Rusterholz too, but I don't have any personal feelings about this. What I do have is 20 years of experience of working in administration in public schools. So I know what budgets are and spending is supposed to look like. That's where I'm coming from. And this doesn't look right to me, which is why I've spoken up about it. But I've also listened to everybody's input, both sides, all sides. And there've been some great suggestions made. People have changed their minds about, they've written letters or called and said, I really want you to do blah, 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 blah. And then 6 weeks later, they're saying, I changed my mind. I thought about this some more. So I have listened to all of that. And I've been listening to this community long before I was elected, because it's something that interests me. I thought about running for school board, for crying out loud, just because I felt like I had something to bring to the table. So what I guess what I want to say is this is not about City Council trying to exact revenge or be mean to the board. It's an ongoing issue that the Woodland Park School District community has been trying to get accountability and transparency for how their money is being spent. Citizens have been asking for this since this board was elected. Instead of giving the transparency, hundreds and hundreds of Cora requests, which I believe I've mentioned before, have either been ignored or significantly redacted, as well as multiple lawsuits filed, racking up thousands of dollars of legal fees. Transparency to me seems like it's such a simple ask. If you look at the city's budget online, you can see the line items of where every penny of your money is going, what it's being spent for. But the more pushback and and the board portraying itself as victims, the more concern and suspicion there is in the community. So my question, a rhetorical question, is how many more chances are the citizens supposed to give? Why does it require some sort of an ordinance or pressure on this board to cooperate? Why is it going that way? I don't understand. I've never seen anything like this in my life. So that's my question. Why does this Board of Education and Superintendent require an ordinance hanging over their heads in order for there to be any cooperation? I personally do not like being up in the business of the school district and their finances. But as elected council member, this falls in my lap because of this sales tax money and it being voted on by the citizens. It's my job to pay attention. It's my job to listen to all the citizens, not just the ones who elected me, and to be a good steward of taxpayer money. Some of you and some of my fellow council members are concerned that taking this tax money away will hurt the kids and bankrupt the district. I hear you and I understand your concerns. However, community members, including at least one certified public accountant, have reported that they can't make heads or tails of the accounting procedures by the district. And so we don't actually know if the money, about $3 million a year, is even making it to the kids in the traditional schools, as they seem to lose something every single day. Buildings, transportation options, their beloved teachers, their mental health support, etc., while Merit Academy seems to get everything it wants with your tax money. Even some Merit parents are starting to speak out about the disparity of treatment, including but not limited to closing Gateway, which has resulted in overcrowding of classrooms, adding at least one temporary trailer for classes. And Merit Academy was given the entire middle school when, even though they're only using barely more than 50% of the space, according to one of their own staff members. If the current board and superintendent continue to spend as they are currently doing, the district is already well on its way to insolvency. Community members believe this superintendent and board have been disruptive, destabilizing, and divisive in our community, and that the board and superintendent are systematically dismantling the public schools in Woodland Park. Our community members have told me that the Board of Education and superintendent have an agenda for sure, but it isn't their kids. This is the exact opposite of trying to attract young families to our community. Our school's ranking in the state has gone down, and we also now have a negative. Please. The ranking that's in the real estate guides where people are looking to move their families here has gone down from an 8 to a 6 to a 4. Some people are representing that the majority of this tax is paid by tourists. We do have high sales tax revenue in June, July, and August of every year. But the city's highest sales tax revenue occurs in the month of December. So it's not just the tourists that are paying the extra taxes, it's you. We also have managed to gain a national negative reputation because of this school board and superintendent. Community members have told me that council should get out of the way and let the voters decide. They put the money in place and they should be the ones who decide whether to keep it or not. I appreciate so much that the Board of Education signed a new IGA that commits them to more transparency. But again, the community has its doubts about whether the new IGA will actually be followed. No matter what, the expectation of this council is that it will be followed to the letter as long as the sales tax revenue is being passed through to Woodland Park School District. If the voters vote to keep the tax, we already have a solid IGA in place as we move forward. If the majority of Woodland Park voters vote to remove the tax, it can also be reintroduced if new needs emerge. I urge my fellow council members to listen to all of the voices in our community and be on the right side of history on this issue by doing what's right, and let the Woodland Park voters decide. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
I know that was long and I apologize, but.
All right, my turn.
Catherine?
So this issue has been difficult and unfortunate for all of us. I've listened to friends, parents, teachers, citizens, and others, and everybody this evening. I have diligent notes that I took throughout the conversations. We can all agree we don't want to hurt the students or the staff. We are doing a disservice to our citizens to assume that they will just revoke the tax because they don't like the school board, the superintendent, the charter school, or they just don't like taxes. The latest test scores would justify keeping the tax in place along with the district signing the latest updated IGA. Revoking the tax will not necessarily have the desired outcome of having the school district be more transparent with the application of the revenue. Our citizens are pretty smart, and we should trust and give them the right to be heard. Both sides of this issue can appeal to the citizens for the reasons to retain or revoke the sales tax. I don't want to revoke the sales tax, but I have to listen to the constituents, and they want the right to be heard. So that's it.
Anyone else?
I would also like to congratulate the district on the CMAS scores. Although I cannot, I mean, that stuff all started before this board came. I mean, the building of the scores, and it didn't just happen in 2 years, so. But I think it's great that we're getting better and better.
Anyone else?
I would say something, but everybody's already said it, so there's no sense in repeating it.
All right. We have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, then Suzanne?
I think that, hold on, huh? I think we need to be very clear on what you're voting on, because
Yeah.
it's not what's on the agenda. Okay. It's different. So I want to make sure everybody's
You want to do
clear.
that?
Yeah, can we get some clarity around that? Because having a motion to kill something doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, then
You could just do the
you may certainly
one on here. yes or
change
no.
the form of the motion then.
You know what I'm saying? There's no.
I know, we go around this every time it
Yeah.
comes up.
I mean, I've
I
seen
can
it done.
withdraw
constantly.
my motion.
It's
and-
okay. It's okay to do it this way? All right.
Okay, if
All
it's
right.
okay to do it, the motion.
So the
I've
effect,
never heard of a
the
kill.
effect of voting yes on such a motion would be to kill the
Kill the
bill.
bill. Yeah.
So
Okay.
if a majority vote yes,
Right.
then the ordinance is dead.
Yeah, didn't you watch Schoolhouse Rock?
Yeah, I mean, was it in there?
Yeah. All right.
Come on, Bob.
So is council clear on what a yes vote means and what a no vote means? And that's what I'm afraid of, and I'd like the
Right.
city attorney to explain it to you, so you know what, if you vote yes, what it means and what no means. So we have no issue.
Second. Yeah.
Correct.
A yes vote on that motion is a vote to kill the ordinance. A no vote is to have the ordinance remain alive.
Right.
And then,
But
do
not
we have to do a
necessarily.
motion
yeah.
to approve it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's what I was thinking.
Suzanne?
It's I just, I take care of my council. I want to make sure you're clear.
So if we
'Cause
gotta do.
I see Councilmember Baldwin and Councilmember Nakai, and I want to make sure you're clear. I don't think you are clear.
No, I'm clear. I'm thinking that the easier way to do this is to make the motion to put it on the ballot, and then we only have to do it once, right? Because if
Motion
we-
on the table.
I get that, but if you have your motion and it passes, that's it, right? But if it fails, then we have to make a new, okay, that's fine. I'm
And
good.
motion's already made.
Well, wait, but Jeff says if I make, so if the motion is to kill it, but do we still have to make a motion on the existing?
Mhm.
No, okay, all right.
If this,
What did I not explain?
We need to take this vote.
Yeah.
And if this vote is successful, we're done. If this vote is not successful, then someone would need to make a motion to approve the ordinance, if that's what you wish to do.
Right, okay. Just. Got it.
we good?
Correct.
So I will
So
state for the record, the motion on the table is to kill ordinance number 1480, series 2024. Motion made by Councilmember Harvey, seconded by Councilmember Jones. Shall I take the vote, Mayor?
Please.
Okay. Gear,
no.
Harvey,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Smith,
No.
Case,
Yes.
Nakai,
No,
Baldwin,
No.
motion fails.
I now make a motion for the approval of ordinance number 1480, series 2024 as written.
Second,
Suzanne?
Are we clear on what we're voting on, folks?
Mhm.
Okay. Harvey,
No.
Jones,
No.
Smith,
yes.
Case,
No.
Nakai,
Yes.
Baldwin,
Yes.
Gear.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-3.
Thank you, council. Thank you, everyone, for your comments.
Council, just so you know, just so council knows, this has to get sent up to the county clerk and recorder. It'll be sent up to her tomorrow for placement on the ballot.
Do you know, Suzanne, do you know how it's gonna read? Is it just like
It's
this?
that the question that's in the ordinance,
Okay,
the
yeah, yeah.
yes, no.
Yeah.
And the city attorney and I will look at it and proof it and make sure it's exactly the way it
Okay.
reads.
All right, council, that takes us to item. Let's see, what number are we on?
80.
9C, approval of ordinance 1481, series 2024. And ordinance of the city council of the city of Woodland Park pertaining to firearms on city property.
Mayor, do you want to just wait 1 second to?
Yes,
The
thank you.
chatter?
Well,
We're
we're
doing-
gonna take a breath while folks leave.
Should we take you want to take a little break?
No.
Liars. You liked everyone during July. Every one of you said you didn't want to kill.
Mayor, would you like to take a recess?
Let's take a recess, council, for
Thank you.
10 minutes.
Well, I would like an apology, please, for your accusation against myself.
We're in recess.
Council,
You should go out this way, council.
Freddie Live, Logan.
Oh, I know. That's so funny.
number. Yep, okay, okay.
Okay, folks, we're gonna reconvene here in about 10 seconds. If you guys could quiet down or step outside, please. Carol, she's right there. All right, we're gonna reconvene the meeting. It's 8:57 PM. And that takes us to item 9C, approval of ordinance number 1481, series 2024, and ordinance of the city council of the city of Woodland Park pertaining to firearms on city property. Jeff.
Hello again, Mayor and Council. This ordinance 1481 exercises an option provided in Senate Bill 24-131, which was passed last year at the legislature and restricts concealed carry in certain sensitive areas. The bill allows the option to permit concealed carry in areas of certain sensitive areas, and that's what this ordinance does. To quote from the ordinance, this allows council members, appointed officials, employees, and other individuals within City Hall and the Ute Pass Cultural Center who hold valid concealed carry permits to carry concealed on those properties. Basically, that's the bill.
Thank you. So I would take it, just if you would spare, give me a moment, council, I would take it that and other individuals to mean the public. All right, should we define that better?
Well, we'd be happy to define it better if you would like us to do that.
Well, I've
mean-
just had people ask,
Yeah.
what does other individuals
Same
mean?
here.
Yeah, I
So-
think the question is, does that mean the public? Yes.
Okay.
That's what that means.
Okay. So
You don't
we're-
have to fall into any of the foregoing categories. This is the catch-all.
All right, thank you.
So other would be sufficient as opposed to just saying the public?
Council member, I'm agnostic.
I know you are, but
You know,
I mean, if we're
you
just
want
trying to
to
make
amend
it
it, put it in the
clarify,
public.
if we're trying to make it clear to everybody, would it not make more sense to just use the word public? From a legal perspective, I don't care.
I don't know that it
matters.
makes a
Okay,
difference.
if it doesn't,
It's
okay,
fine.
that's fine. I'm fine.
Thank you. Any council? Do you have anything to offer on this?
No, Mayor, but I understand that we do have, okay, some other speakers.
We have a couple of folks to address the council. We'll start, since he's standing, with our illustrious chief of police,
Scowl.
Deisler.
Good evening, everyone. Just a few quick comments for your consideration as relates to the ordinance. Bear in mind, the comments that I'll make to you are simply for your consideration. They have no bearing on my personal opinions of the constitutional rights of the citizens, because as you have probably figured out by now, I've been supporting and defending said constitution for over 32 years. However, I have to be mindful of everybody that oftentimes does business in this room related to court proceedings. So I just would ask that you consider the court officials who are oftentimes in this room, sometimes by themselves, and to remember that in most courthouses, you can't bring firearms into courthouses now, regardless of your position. That is my only concern, and just ask that you consider that. Any questions?
Thank you.
So-
Carol?
Well, the chief, so you're saying that you would want to exclude court proceedings from this ordinance?
My preference would be that you would not have a firearm present during court proceedings in this room. Yes, ma'am.
And
That's in the.
Yeah, look at subparagraph C in the amendment. It's specifically to
Yes,
that
sir. And
concern.
again, I'm not here to suggest it wasn't. I just
Oh,
wanted
okay.
you to hear from me
thank you.
what my position was as
Okay.
your chief.
And I know that the Judge McClintock had also mentioned that, and I think when we conduct court proceedings in this chamber, we're the only courtroom, I think, in the state that doesn't have a metal detector. And that was one of her concerns.
Correct.
And I'm assuming that that is the same concern for yourself.
as a host of others, but yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Anything else for the chief? Thank you,
Thank
chief.
you all. Appreciate it.
And Eric Stone, a citizen of Woodland Park, that would like to address the council.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor and members of council. And I did have a couple of members of council that had expressed an interest in having me coming and talk, I think for probably two reasons. One is to kind of make sure that perhaps that what you're doing is kind of aligns with what the county already passed in our own ordinance. So I kind of have two hats on, I guess. One is as an instructor, as an NRA instructor, and then the other is as, county commissioner, of course. From the county's perspective, and let me back up just a little bit. I'm sure you guys know, but maybe folks in the audience don't know. The statute that was passed in this last legislative session made it illegal for anyone to carry any firearm in any building in which a governing body is meeting. So that would be a city hall, it would be county buildings, school board meetings, et cetera. But it did allow an opt-out for those bodies to then basically opt themselves out from that and have their own regulation regarding it. So I appreciate the fact that council's bringing this forward. And I know I reached out actually to the mayor, letting her know what the county was doing before we did it, just to apprise you of that. And ours was pretty simple. It basically just stated that that carry is allowed in county buildings, and we excluded the court from that, just as you're doing. And that actually, from the county perspective, is a judge's order for the county courthouse. So we did that in order to comply with the judge's order, but there was never any discussion to do anything differently. So anyway, we did pass our ordinance. I believe it was in late May, last meeting in May, and it was an emergency ordinance. So it went into effect upon publishment, the point of where it was published. From a NRA instructor standpoint, self-defense standpoint, I really appreciate the council bringing this forward. I do believe that everybody does have the right to self-defense and the right to carry, and you're providing this. I know there were some concerns that it would extend far beyond, to all city property, and my reading of your ordinance does not do that. It's just City Hall and I believe the UPass Cultural Center were the only two that were included as part of that. And I assume perhaps UPass Cultural Center was included because there may be times where the council would choose to meet there. Because I don't think that a public space like that was included as part of the sensitive spaces, but perhaps it was. We didn't look at it because we don't own a space like that at the county, so we didn't have to worry about it. But from an instructor standpoint, again, I appreciate the fact that you're supporting the residents' rights to carry. I've probably trained 250 or 300 people in the county over the last few years, and I'm sure many of them have gone on to have their own concealed carry weapons permits. And I think it's also important to point out, as I teach in all my classes, that when of the FBI records that are kept of all groups of people that they track in regards to violent crime, concealed carry permit holders are the least likely to commit a violent crime of any group that they track. And that includes law enforcement, and law enforcement is extremely low. That's the next lowest. It's a very, very tiny number of violent crimes, but concealed carry permits holder are actually a little better when it comes to the fact that they are the most law abiding of citizens. So I think actually having a whole group of residents, of Teller County residents that happen to have concealed carry permits and are at your meetings would make me feel much more secure. So anyway, I appreciate the fact that you're doing it. If you have
Including us.
yeah,
just don't-
exactly,
right?
exactly. Anyway, if you have any questions about what the county did, I'm happy to answer that. If you have any other questions, just from an instructor, safety, self-defense standpoint, I'm happy to take any questions, and they'd just be my opinions on that.
Hey, Eric.
Hi there.
Quick question. Did you, you only allow concealed carry, is that correct? Or do you allow open carry?
We only addressed carry.
Okay.
We didn't address open carry or concealed carry. It was just carry. I can tell you in the three and a half years I've been a county commissioner, I've never seen anybody open carry into one of our meetings. I've seen people open carry into our buildings, and I don't have an issue with that. Open carrying into meetings, I think, would be probably poor. You're sending a different message than perhaps I think the message that you might want to send. But again, that's a choice. I realize yours addresses, allows concealed carry, doesn't address open carry, which I would assume would exclude it, but that's your guys' decision to make. here in Teller County, like I said, I feel pretty safe among our residents.
Thank you. Anyone else have more questions for Eric?
Yeah, Commissioner Stone, how would you deal with open carry if someone were to show up at a commission meeting with open carry?
Frankly, I'd probably ignore it up until the point where somebody perhaps was agitated or perhaps acting in a threatening manner. And unlike your meetings where you generally tend to have law enforcement present, we don't. It's occasional when the sheriff has business before the commissioners, but down on the far end of the county, we don't have law enforcement present. And but again, in Teller County, I know there's a lot of concealed carry in the room regardless.
Anything else for the commissioner? All right. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
your
guys.
testimony. We appreciate you. Council, further questions, discussion? Otherwise, I would look for a motion.
Nope.
Oh, it's late. I will open the public comment portion of this public hearing. If there's anyone online or in the audience that would like to address the council.
I have two
Regardless.
signed up.
All right,
Our first speaker is Jameson Beerman.
thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And thank you, council, for providing me time again. I certainly appreciate all of you on council that took this issue with urgency and moved it forward. In particular, Councilmember Carol Harvey, appreciate it. There's a couple of comments. One of the pieces of legislation that the state also passed this year, in addition to the sensitive spaces bill that prevented carry in places like this without you guys taking action, was to increase the threshold required for people to obtain a concealed carry permit. There's those of us in the community that are fortunate enough where we've got the disposable income to be able to go through that training, to pay those fees. By limiting the constitutional right, which we all should be guaranteed, to just concealed carry, you are putting the most disadvantaged citizens that may also want that same equal protection and be able to realize that same right at a disadvantage. So I just wanted to point that out. I also would echo the statements made that I think it's perfectly logical in a courtroom setting that you don't have people enabled to carry. That seems logical. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Suzanne?
The next speaker is Aaron Hellstrom.
Also known as Eric? I'm sorry.
That's my brother's name. My mom used to get confused all the time, so. Good evening. Thank you again for being able to speak. I'm not in opposition to this order. However, I would ask that you would take the Youth Cultural Center out of it, because there are a lot of community events, weddings, and things that take place there. And why shouldn't they be able to carry, open or concealed? It is their constitutional right, and we do have a lot of people in this county that are on fixed income. And inflation continues to go up. It's very expensive to live here. And so by putting them, in my opinion, it goes against your constitutional right to keep and bear arms. When you put a threshold for a person, a citizen, to carry arms, where you have to go through this training, get this certification, and pay this. Now, if we want to put a grant out there that can help citizens that are financially not able to pay for these fees and enable them to conceal carry, then great. But I ask that you consider our less fortunate citizens in this community. And with the way things are going in this state, look at Aurora, look at Colorado Springs, 2 shelter in places in the last couple days. This isn't going to get any better. And I'd rather know that there's everybody in here carrying a gun like in Montana, where some foolish individual who means harm to this council or this body of citizens would quickly be perished if they tried harm.
Eric, we are including the cultural center in the ordinance to allow for carry at the cultural center.
But that's concealed only, correct?
It is concealed. It is identified as concealed, yes.
And I was asking that you would include open carry.
I understand. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. And lastly, I think I understand our chief's position. I agree with him, especially when he's armed and he has to watch out for everybody. And having citizens that are armed helps them in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, council, anyone else? Eric?
Eric Lockman, Woodland Park. I'm Aaron's younger brother. Just kidding. I'm just here to say that I would also advocate that we'd include open carry. When I took a class for concealed carry in Colorado until recently, you didn't even have to see a physical gun or touch a physical gun in order to be certified. You just had to have a class, and it could be on legal, it could be on home defense, it could be on different things, but so just because you have a concealed carry license does not necessarily mean that you're proficient with a gun. And so also the cost of securing a concealed carry license has gone up with insurance and all that stuff too. So so some people may prefer to open carry and be just as or more proficient with open carry. So just consider that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right.
My name is Steve Lay. I live in Woodland Park. And the open carry is very uncomfortable. I just think about the debate that we just had. If we had 30 or 40 people all with open carry, the dynamics of that conversation would be profoundly different. And I think it's really, concealed carry is a whole nother matter because it isn't a public display of violence. And so I just want you to consider that. I know it's not entirely on the table, but I think as a principle that it really matters that weapons are concealed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, anyone else? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing portion of this, the public comment portion of this public hearing, and turn this over to the council for further discussion or a motion.
Okay, I'll start. I truly respect the concept of open carry, and I have no problem when I walk into King Soopers or Safeway or City Market or whatever, and I see people open carrying. The problem I have with doing it here is that the gentleman that just spoke is partly that problem. And I remember a few years ago when a few individuals walked into the city, the Colorado Springs council meeting with AR-15s. Not sure what their intentions were, if they were just trying to make a point or if they were trying to intimidate that particular meeting. I just don't want to have that happen here. So that's my 2 cents on the open carry part. Otherwise, I don't have a problem with the ordinance.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm still trying to envision a wedding ceremony where everyone had an AR-15. but I guess it could happen. I grew up in the mountains of North Carolina and it probably did. No, those were shotguns. Never mind. No, I support the ordinance as written.
What, can we go back over the you past cultural center though? Why was that included in there?
Because we can sometimes.
That it was for that reason? Okay. It was because we can be there, correct?
That's correct.
Yes. Because we can, yes.
And other boards could meet there as well.
And this one's kind of a struggle for me, to be honest with you. I'm about as ardent of a Second Amendment supporter as you're gonna find. I'm a gun owner myself, and I often struggle, when I see open carry with, whatever the intent may be. But on the other hand, the way the founding fathers chose to write the Second Amendment, that has no relevance. So I'm okay with the ordinance as is, but I do want to say I understand why the request to add open carry. And I appreciate the commissioner for pointing out that theirs just says carry. So like I said, I'm okay with the ordinance as is, but I am struggling a little bit with specifically excluding open carry. So I just thought I'd get that on record.
Thank you. Anything else, council? All right, I would look for a motion.
I'll move to approve ordinance number 1481, series 2024, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Woodland Park pertaining to firearms on city property. And I will add this caveat is that any ordinance that we approve and codify can be modified at any future date if we decide it's not working for our community. But at this point in time, this was to accommodate the practicality of concealed carry in sensitive places that city and the city council has control of.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion, council? Suzanne?
Jones,
Oh, yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Case,
Yes.
Nakai,
Yes.
Baldwin,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Harvey.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
All right, council, that takes us to item 9D, approval of ordinance number 1482, series 2024, amending Title 13 of the municipal code concerning utilities to adopt a new code, section 13.08.110, regarding financial relief for unexplained high water meter readings. And Mr. Wiley, you're at the podium. I look around because I used to you guys having being over here.
I can go back over there. I'm
No, you're
happy
fine.
with that. Okay, before council tonight is ordinance 1482. This basically puts into the utility code, process and procedure for our ratepayers to appeal unexplained high water bills. Councils over the years have, had to, listen to those, concerns and task the city manager and staff to look at the very old, resolution 264 done in 1993. So very happy that this ordinance is in front of you. This ordinance was reviewed by the Utilities Advisory Committee and recommended to move to City Council. It lays out the process, and in that process, those ratepayers come to the Utilities Department and then to the Utilities Advisory Committee, and then the city manager has the final say in those. It's very extensive. In regards to the process, hiring a licensed plumber to do an inspection, the city does its own inspection, so on and so forth. I can answer any questions as it relates to the ordinance if you would like, but the Utilities Advisory Committee recommended approval. I don't know if any of those members want to speak on anything in regards to the ordinance.
Yeah, no,
No, we obviously approved it.
Yeah.
And I think we did a pretty good job of trying to protect both the city and the citizens from a meter issue.
Yep. So in front of you is ordinance 1482 replacing resolution 264 from 1993. I recommend approval after the public hearing.
thank you for reminding me, Kip. Council, any more questions of the staff? All right. In that case, I will open the public comment portion of the public hearing. for Ordinance 1482, if there's anyone that would like to address the council. Don't see anyone rushing to the podium. Anyone online, Suze?
No.
All right, thank you. I will close the public comment portion of the public hearing and turn this over to you, council, for either further discussion or a motion.
I'm just gonna jump in and make a motion for the approval of ordinance 1482, series 2024. Amending Title 13 in the municipal code concerning utilities to adopt a new code, section 13.08.110, regarding financial relief for unexplained high water meter readings.
I'll second.
Thank you, council. Any further discussion?
Oh, no,
Suze?
so
Oh.
one comment I'm gonna make, one of the things I liked about this ordinance was we took out the dollar amount that was stuck in the 1983 or 1993 ordinance that was irrelevant. So this one doesn't have that. We set the fixed.
Good job, Kat.
Thank you.
All right, anything else?
That's it.
All right. Suze?
Smith,
Yes.
Case,
Yes.
Nakai,
Yes.
Baldwin,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Harvey,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. I just need to ask Kip, did the boys win?
Tied. Don't get me started.
Okay.
We could put that as item B under new business if you'd like.
Thank you,
That takes us, thank you, council. That takes us to item 10A, agreement between RME Limited LLL doing business as Elite Surface Infrastructure and the City of Woodland Park in the amount of $1,277,144,000 for MMOF multimodal funds, operation funds, multimodal, what is it? What's the O,
It's
Kip?
multimodal transportation and mitigation options funds.
There you have it.
It's real simple.
Yeah, and I'm the one that sits on that board. MMOF sidewalk, head ramp, that's pedestrian ramp, and trail reconstruction. And I will turn this over to the city manager, Aaron Vasilati.
Thank you. In 2021, the city updated its pedestrian ramp inventory to prioritize pedestrian crossings which needed repair or replacement. And the city applied for a grant for the MMOF, I won't repeat that again, and entered into an agreement with CDOT for a 50-50 cost share to address many of the ramps and trail repair identified in the ramp inventory. So under this partnership with CDOT, the state is going to contribute $524,307, and then the city will be paying the rest.
Thank you. Council, any questions for staff?
Yeah. Yes, so it says in here trail reconstruction. Where's that? Is that Centennial Trail?
It's part of Centennial Trail, and I do not have the exact drawings in front of me, but yes, that's part of it.
Okay, because there are some sketchy patches. I wasn't sure if you guys were.
Correct. And I will add that the award will be made next week, and completion of this is supposed to be by November 15th.
Great.
Okay, so
Thank you, Aaron.
I'm a little tired and I just need to clarify, this is our half of the 50, or this is,
524,307 is CDOT's half, and our half is the difference.
okay,
So our half
which is the
with the
1
contingency is about 700,000.
1.277 is the full amount
is
of
the
the
full amount,
contract.
okay, right, and so we're, okay.
Anything else, council? All right. I would look for a motion.
I make a motion to approve the agreement between RME Ltd, LLL DBA Elite Surface Infrastructure and the City of Woodland Park in the amount of $1,277,149 for MMOF sidewalk, ped ramp, and trail construction. Reconstruction. Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, council. Any further discussion? Suze?
Case,
Yes.
Nakai,
Yes.
Baldwin.
Yes.
Here,
Yes.
Harvey,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, council. That takes us to reports, and item A is the mayor's report, and I will share some community events for September 5th through September 19th, 2024. This Saturday, September 7th, as we were presented earlier, is the 8 a.m. in Memorial Park, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. is the 32nd annual Cruise Above the Clouds. Hundreds of custom and classic vehicles descend on Memorial Park for a fun-filled day of automotive excellence. Also on Saturday, the 7th at the UPass Cultural Center is Movies Under the Stars. This free family-friendly event starts at 6 p.m. and ends at 10 p.m. Bring chairs and blankets, and families are encouraged to arrive 2 hours early. Wednesday, September 11th, the Teller County Commissioners warmly invite first responders, veterans, and all members of the public to join in the remembrance ceremony held at 9 a.m. at Lions Park. And I will be there as well. Also on Wednesday, September 11th at the UPass Cultural Center is the free community concert featuring the Friends of the Riders from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And council, if you have any other events you'd like to share when it's your turn, please do. That's all I have. Catherine, Mayor Pro Tem.
I have nothing.
Oh, boy. Okay, I thought I'd give you guys an update on a couple of new laws that went into effect. House Bill 24-1348. The act prohibits knowingly leaving a handgun in an unattended vehicle unless it is locked, hard-sided container, a glove box, or center console placed out of sight, either in a locked vehicle, locked trunk, or locked recreational vehicle. And another one that just went into effect is extends the current prohibition on individuals under 18 using a mobile electronic device while driving to individuals over the age of 18. Drivers may use a hands-free accessory. No citation, though, can be issued unless an officer saw the driver using the mobile electronic device in a manner that caused careless or imprudent driving. That's all I got. That's my CML report.
Thank you, Terry. Jeff?
Yep, I only got two things for Parks and Rec. First, youth soccer and flag football games start this Saturday, and I'll be officiating some of those. So Aaron, just so you know, you already have a 15-yard penalty to work with from your team, just to start with.
Yeah, that's gonna be fine.
So I'm really looking forward to that. So secondarily, third and fourth grade co-ed basketball and fifth to eighth grade girls basketball registration is open through September 13th, with late registration closing September 30th. And that is all.
Thank you, Jeff. Carol?
Yes, as a military liaison, I did want to invite veterans and actually anyone who may be interested to our Congresswoman Brittany Pedersen's Veterans Town Hall tomorrow at 2 p.m. and that will be in the Ute Pass Cultural Center. And her special guest for that town hall will be Commissioner Dan Williams and several of our local VA officials. And then secondly, there will be a Keep Woodland Park Beautiful meeting next Thursday at 5 p.m. in the conference room upstairs. And once again, a call for any and all who would like to join that committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. George?
Yeah, real quick, we had to postpone the DDA meeting on Tuesday, so that has been pushed to next Tuesday. So what is that, the 9th, I think?
The 8th, I think.
8th, okay, 10th, we're close,
10th.
somewhere in there, next Tuesday.
It's
Next
late.
Tuesday,
Tuesday,
7:30 a.m. right here. And the other thing I was gonna just report on, the disc golf tournament went off smashingly well, save one thing. There was apparently a noise report and a police officer showed up at 9:52 on Saturday evening. So one report, and by the way, Aaron and I both visited separately. It was a great little event. They did it really well. So
Thank you.
that's it.
Steve Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
do you have any reports for us?
Actually, I do. One for the Historical Preservation Society.
Yes.
If you have read the Pikes Peak Courier from this week, the three that were responsible for replacement or reconstruction of 75 headstones at the Woodland Park Cemetery. And also they're doing reconstruction and replacing ones over at the Templeton Cemetery, which is very historical. And they're actually waiting for some students from the School of Mines to come up with some ground penetrating X-ray things to see if they can find any, deceased, to put a proper headstone there after they've found who that person is.
Excellent. Great. I actually read a letter of support today for Steve Plute, who was making application to the State Historic Society for a grant for the Roberts House, which is the house down by Walmart.
Yep.
The old stage stop. So keep your fingers crossed.
Oh, we're working on that one.
All right, thank you. City Attorney's report.
Yeah.
Thank you. City Manager's report.
I have an update on the Highway 67 project. Beginning on Monday, September 9th, infrastructure improvements will begin at the intersection of Lovell Gulch Road and State Highway 67. This project will focus on pipe replacements along Lovell Gulch Road, which may require a detour. Residents should anticipate delays in this vicinity. The project is expected to last through the week. Weather and other factors may result in a longer project time, and we greatly appreciate the public's patience as the improvements are completed. That's all I have.
Aaron, one question, did we resolve the issue with trash pickup on Park?
We did,
Okay.
yes. On Lake.
Lake, sorry.
If there's
Well,
an
that's
issue on Park, please let me know.
That's been resolved. Good. Thank you.
Thank you. And council, lack of anything else, we're adjourned.
Oh, that's your updated.